I don't care if you're burning Confederate flags and monuments all night. If you up, smash that like button. Welcome to Black and the Black Times Infinity. I'm your host, Cthulhu's Prodigy, coming to you live and direct from the stack. Smoke me out, fam, with that dang shit on my left. Sketch.
What's up? What's up? It's we're still living in the revolution.
On my far right, engineering on the ones and twos, choking people out on threes and fours, Chronos.
The future belongs to those that prepare today.
Last but not least, we got your boy, Old Ninja.
One day you're a follower of Cthulhu. The next day you're an Oathbreaker. It'd be like that sometimes.
That's so personal. So personal. How dare you?
Oh, this is
We back up in here.
Huh. Your audios are all low, but they're high in my headphones. Talk again? Anybody?
1 2 1 2.
Let's get it.
Fuck. All right. I think it's. I'll figure out in post.
Fixing it in post.
I just gotta turn my headphones down. There we go. All right. I can say you guys now. Just gotta turn it up on this end. Okay. Yeah. Last week, huh? Holy shit. Good news is that was probably one of our most listened to podcasts as far as like the time goes. Like we have a lot of listens as far as 7 days goes, and that was surprising to me. Keeps me hopeful that people want to hear stuff like this. I don't know if the podcast is always going to be talking about just a sole, subject like that in the future, but we might talk about just the same issues today. I don't know. We'll see where this goes, but thank you for supporting us, and y'all got blessed, if you believe in blessings, which I don't. It's all good. We dropped more content in the past 7 days than I think we have done either ever or in a real fucking long time, outside of a convention.
Yeah, I was going to say, some cons we do it, but yeah.
Yeah, we dropped... We dropped a bunch of my rants. We dropped some generational knowledge on you motherfuckers. We dropped... what else? There's something else we got out there too. A couple of... I finally broke up some videos. Because like the last podcast that we did was 3 hours and 45 minutes, which is like... That's a Joe Rogan podcast. And people were listening to it. And so I decided to break it up into some chunks. And that's got some really good stuff too. So thank you, y'all.
Hell yeah. Do we have a listener of the week?
Oh shit! I forgot to bring all that stuff up. Give me 1 second. Give me some time.
Yeah, no worries. While he's doing all that
with us shortly. If you're wondering where Blue's at.
Yeah,
he'll be here in a minute. Hopefully. Why are we? Okay, so listener of the week would be Muhammad. Thank you very much for listening. You know, it's hilarious. So a guy I went to high school with, who was also a DJ for a local radio station, 106.5.
Right on.
He listened a few times, so his name came up because he listened on SoundCloud. So thank you.
Nice.
He knows who. Well, I'll just say his first name, Mark. Thank you very much for listening. All right, where we going, guys? Oh, and
all right, Old Ninja, you know the routine.
No, I fucked up. First in the chat, nobody's there yet. All right, my bad. Did y'all?
All right, Old Ninja.
Did we tweet?
Put it on Facebook. I'll tweet it right now. But go ahead. So, I guess the next part we are pouring out some King Cobra for Bonnie Pointer. Real name Patricia Eva Pointer, one of the Pointer sisters. If you don't know, they're a very popular R&B and soul group from the 80s. If you've ever seen any of the Beverly Hills Cop movies, they basically did the theme song for those films. She was 69 from West Oakland, so R.I.P. to her.
That's still pretty young. You know, in these days and times, you got to ask any cause of death that's semi-Rona related or no?
So far, her death is to be determined, I guess. She died on the 8th, which was 2 days prior to this podcast. So,
R.I.P. man. Rest in power to her.
I was going to say, what's our Rona death count?
Last I saw was 112. I thought it's over 110. I know.
There's probably way more than that now.
Yeah, we got 112,000 is what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the actual, like, we have over 2 million people now infected, which is pretty insane.
Yeah. And in some areas, like Texas, North Carolina, sadly, even California and Arizona, cases are going up. A lot of folks were partying fucking hard over Memorial Day. And, these cases are going up, which is really sad to see.
Yeah. And I just want people to understand that the numbers that you are most likely seeing now are from people just going crazy from Memorial Day, not the protesting shit. Those numbers we'll see probably reflected in a couple weeks.
Well, yeah, it's like these people that are saying, oh, well, even with the protesting, why are we seeing the numbers go up? Motherfucker, because it takes, like, time to have symptoms. And, like, usually all these, coronavirus cases that you're seeing are people that are symptomatic. It's probably way more than that people are not symptomatic. So, I don't know. We'll see. But then we also have some positive news, potentially from the World Health Organization, where they were saying that if you're asymptomatic, you're less likely to actually pass the disease on to somebody else. That's potentially good news, but we'll see. This is a very strange disease, and I hope that that's the case, and I hope that we get through this a little bit faster. But I mean, in the meantime, I'm still staying at home for the most part. Even though today I picked up comics today for the first time in a while.
Nice.
I was expecting a $500 bill, but I got lucky because during the whole time we had the coronavirus, comics actually stopped shipping for a couple of months.
Yep.
So my bill was only $230. So finally picked them up, and then apparently I guess DC Comics is dropping Diamond Distributor, which is huge if you're a comic person. But Diamond's been fucking up. If anybody that knows about Diamond Distributors, and if you're a regular subscriber to comic books, y'all know that, at least in the Bay Area, Diamond's been fucking up. So
no, it's nationally.
Is it national? I can only speak locally. So if it's national, then yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Did you find a listener of the week?
I already said it. God
I'm sorry,
bro. I understand it's your birthday and you're fucking 40 now, but Jesus Christ, all of a sudden you forgetting shit. Happy birthday!
I do.
Prodigy.
I do.
Happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
Man.
Appreciate it. We got a really awesome fucking list this week, just like we always fucking do for y'all. Where do you guys want to go first? Because there's been breaking news even today.
Well, I think there's something me and Stitch want to talk about. But yeah, obviously everybody can weigh in on this subject. But it's about defunding the police. Do you want to start there, or you want to start somewhere happier? The last podcast was kind of depressing.
That's very
in the news.
Yeah, that's a hot issue in the news today. I want to hear what you guys got to say, and I'll weigh in as well.
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but I'll let Stitch line it up. Can you line it up, Stitch?
Well, after the whole protest and death of George Floyd, we've been seeing signs in the outcry for departments to be defunded, police departments to be defunded. And it started to get a lot more momentum and become more of a mainstream talking point. And all of a sudden it just became a popular saying, the police need to be defunded, the police need to be defunded. When you hear that, you kind of think like, well, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean defund the police? You have to have a police department. And then shortly thereafter, when the whole talk of defunding the police came about, we actually saw that the city council of Minneapolis, 9 of their, I believe, 11 members or 9 of their 13 members pledged that they would vote towards abolishing their police department.
You're talking about the city council?
Yeah.
Yes, the city council from Minnesota. So, I mean, hearing all this stuff is just like crazy radical to me, because I don't, at first I didn't know what they meant by, first of all, defunding the police and then abolishing the police. I mean, in theory, you can't not have the police and crime would run rampant and we'd be running around like purge.
It's happened before. Like places have done it. Yeah. Yes.
Upon further research, in being like, okay, well, what do you mean by first of all, defunding the police? And I think we put out a tweet, or Kronos put out a tweet in terms of probably the better word, even though it wouldn't fit properly on a sign.
Yeah.
It's saying like reallocation of funds of city budgets for the police and everything. Most of your police departments' budgets are a huge majority of your actual city budget. If we were just, and I'm just pulling numbers just to keep them even. Let's say your city budget is like $100 million, and you are spending, let's say, 65 of it just towards police services itself. People are just like, at this point, they're like, yo, it's obviously not working. We need to go back to the drawing board. We need to take money away from the budget that we have going towards the police department and start putting it into other resources like education, social services, mental health studies and programs. And that's what they are implying and rallying for when they are saying defund the police.
Yeah, it's just saying defund the police, like you said before, is just like, it's kind of doing the whole movement a disservice, because it's like it's a way more nuanced and complicated issue that you can't. It's difficult to break it down into just like 2 words, or I guess 3 words: defund the police. Yeah, I don't think people understand the amount of stuff that police officers. Actually, I think this would actually help a lot of the police departments, because we're actually asking, as far as I'm concerned, way too much from most police departments. And it goes back to like the Reagan era, really, when they decided to defund certain projects like mental health organizations. They defunded like a lot of that. That's when we saw like all these mental health organizations getting shut down, a lot of mental health facilities getting shut down, and that greatly contributed to the rise of mental health issues in America. Because if you're having a mental health crisis right now, what happens? You call 911, they're going to send a cop to you.
Yes,
some sort of law enforcement officer to you. But that's probably not really what you need. What you need is a mental health professional. Or somebody's homeless on the streets. Do they need a police officer, or do they need somebody that is that specializes in homeless services? If somebody is having any sort of at-home issues, do you need a police officer, or do you need a social worker? It's stuff like that. And if you're having issues with like just people just not being educated enough, or all these, there's myriad of issues. I think we put too much emphasis on police officers enforcing the law and not enough on crime prevention. And I think if we invested back in the community to actually have some sort of crime prevention, we would need less police officers. We would need we would let them get back to doing what they should be doing, which is enforcing certain laws. And I think that we have broadened the scope of which laws they should be enforcing upon. And this goes back into even like the war on drugs. Like if somebody has drugs on them, me personally, I don't really give a shit. Unless you're high in public and like causing a scene or trying to hurt somebody, I don't really care. You can get high all you want. I don't know why this all of a sudden became a societal issue because somebody decides to take a break from reality. You know what I mean? And calling the police on them to arrest them and put in this, this prison system that's not going to help them at all, and they come out, worse than they went in, because the state of our prisons today, it's not about rehabilitation, it's about punishment. And so we have people that go in there. We have people that go into jail right now because they're poor, or because laws are written to put them in jail. You know what I mean? Like with certain drug laws, which we went over last podcast. And I think that not enough people really think about it, because it takes, I don't want to say a higher thought level, but it kind of does. Like it's something that you need to really think about, and not just be like, criminal's bad, but it's like, well, which criminals are bad?
Yeah.
It's like, who do you really consider a criminal? If somebody's doing something in their own house, I don't give a fuck if somebody's a crackhead. Be a crackhead in your own house. What I don't want to see is me walking out of my door with my daughter and some crackhead asking me, for money. Or I got these 2 cheeseburgers, I'll suck your dick or some shit. You know what I mean? Like the whole cliche. That's not. But if you want to get high and in your own house, I don't care. Because this is what I'm gonna tell you a secret right now that has to do with professionals in America right now, especially in the IT community, and just any professional. Like they're all doing drugs. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if you're in a high stakes field like I am, A lot of folks, even though I'm not doing it, but a lot of folks are using some sort of amphetamine to stay on top. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, I just don't do it because I don't like being fucking hyper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the amount of folks that are on, not Ritalin, but there's a whole bunch of like drugs out there that they're
Adderall.
Adderall, that's the one. Yeah, a whole bunch of folks that are in my field that are doing Adderall, and that's an amphetamine.
Mm-hmm.
But you're telling me that you're fine with them doing Adderall, which is amphetamine, but if somebody's doing meth, you got a problem with that. Like, this is what I'm talking about. There's like a societal line that we drew that's totally arbitrary, and it's geared towards people that are, that meet a certain income level. Because if you have, health services, if you have a high paying job and you have health insurance, then you can get your Adderall. You have access to a doctor to get your Adderall. But if you're broke and all you can get is meth, and then you put them in jail, it's like, and then you can't get out because they're broke. You know what I mean? Because what's the first thing you got to do when you go to jail? You got to post bail, right? But if you're broke...
Or don't drop the soap. I mean, that's...
Yeah. Well, I mean, first thing you got to do is try to get the fuck out of there, right? So, and that's posting bail. But if you're broke, they seem to have criminalized being poor right under our noses, and it's fucking disgusting.
Yep.
And let some of you other guys weigh in here, please.
Yeah, I like what you guys are putting down on this one, Kronos and Stitch. I would say if we're talking about an increase in most city budgets for education and social services, I think that could have a very positive effect. I'd love to see that maybe experimented in some smaller states, do some kind of case studies and whatnot.
So, hold on, I'm glad you said that. Can I pause you real quick? So they have.
Okay.
Actually, Stitch actually looked this up too. Camden, New Jersey actually defunded the police. And they did something that... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to see it over, throughout that's great to know for a city, but I'd like to see it over a state as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? So if we talk about a case study, Camden would be a good case study, because what they did was they literally fired all the police officers, and they all had to reapply, and they decided that, and they totally changed the way they train police. So now they're not going out there, like they're actually walking out, being in the community, riding bikes and like doing all these positive things for the community, rather than just, find the bad guy. Because like the police chief, he was like, yeah, my numbers for, catching drug dealers were great, but we realized that we kept, it was still a pervading problem. And he's like, well, how do we fix it? So like they had to rethink how to be police officers.
Cool.
Also, I want to add
go ahead.
You mentioned about it being seen over a state. I don't know if you can just broad brush it as using that solution to solve like an entire state. Each department, each city is its own sort of ecosystem. The problems that are happening in, let's say, San Jose here are probably not the same problems that's happening in Half Moon Bay in terms of homelessness, drug use, and et cetera. So it's hard to, especially with like a large state like California, and then you essentially different cities have different budgets. If you do know a little bit about Camden, I lived in New Jersey, but I lived in the northern part of New Jersey. Camden is sort of in the shadows of Philadelphia across the state line, and it's two different areas. The major city with a ton of problems. I was telling Lilo, it kind of reminded me of like Flint, Michigan, not with the whole water thing, but in terms of like they're just tapped bone dry with all their resources. So it might be harder for some smaller departments to be able to enact some of this community policing in the Camden model. And I encourage people to go look up on YouTube, funding the police, just type it in and it'll explain like why they did it, how they implemented some of their community policing models, and also the use of a lot of technology in terms of like putting up cameras in various crime popular spots and having like an officer being able to sort of sit in the precinct, view the cameras, and see things as it's going on in real time. Now you go to like a smaller department in let's say random rural Georgia or whatever. They're not going to have the money in their budget to put up a bunch of cameras. And from my personal experience, where that got really, really expensive is data storage. And that's something that Kronos knows a lot about.
Yeah.
Because essentially, if you have all these cameras recording shit 24 hours a day, you got to store it somewhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you catch a crime that happened on, oh shit, I just saw that person get shot, you're going to have to be able to save it and be like, yo, this is evidence right here. And then essentially you're going to have to store that evidence. And that, I can't even fathom how much data storage would require from that. But it's in a very expensive project, and you just sort of have to figure out how you're going to shuffle the money.
All right, let me go back. Let me go back, though. Sorry. What I was going to say, though, I hear you, and I appreciate the information on Camden. I really do. If it can't be done at a smaller state level, not talking about California, but maybe a smaller state, less population, then so be it. If it has to be at a municipality level, that's fine. The other half of that, though, is what I'm even more interested in, and that's over the course of 5, 10, 15 years, how does it impact the increase in education and possibly a decrease in crime or the increase in mental health services or social services, and how that impacts crime and quality of life. That aspect of it, increasing more of the budget for that, because in general, nationwide, cities have had struggles paying for basics of education. They've had to do car washes and food drives and all that other shit to fund basic shit with education. And especially when we're talking about some of the rural areas, they've suffered, just point blank. So if you're talking about an increase in social services and education, I'd like to see how that gets affected by them having more money.
Yeah, so...
I don't... Oh,
sorry,
I was going to say, I don't know the numbers with Camden's education system, but in that study, they did show that, I believe it was in 2012, where they essentially abolished their police department. It was the Camden City Police Department. Yeah. The chief of police pretty much said everyone was essentially fired, and they had to reapply for their jobs. Then they started from the base level, just ground up, because they, as it was said in the report or the video, that they wanted to establish a new culture rather than just like training people. They wanted to just establish a new culture. They even changed like their patches and their badges and stuff like that, because they just wanted to wipe away, Control Alt Delete, and start completely anew. And their crime levels did drastically drop. I will have to do further research to see what health services they put in, and then what education stuff, but I know their crime definitely dropped.
Yeah, I have the numbers on crime. So Camden, New Jersey, they did this 7 years ago, is when they decided to disband and basically everybody had to reapply to the police force. And violent crimes have dropped by 42% in 7 years.
Very nice.
After they had a revamp. Yeah, so it wasn't just like the whole disbanding and defunding. It was actually learning how to be better police officers. So I think that's what helps. So when you talk about defunding, I think Camden did a really good job, because the chief of police, he saw, which is the same deal as like the Minneapolis police chief. He knows that there's an underlying culture there that is bad, and he's trying to figure out how to get like bad cops out. And so the solution for the Camden police chief, he was just like, listen, I know we have bad police officers. We're just going to fire all of them, and you got to reapply. And when you reapply, if you're on the shit list, you ain't getting rehired. So that was his solution. And I think we're seeing some of the underpinnings of that right now, because I don't know if you saw the story today, but Minneapolis Police Department, they're not renewing their contract with their union. And so I think that's a first step into that, because like police unions are very powerful. You know, Stitch went over this in the last podcast. But if you can distance yourself from the union and then be able to actually use your own power, then I think they can do what they're asking for. So the police unions are more than likely the reason why, you know, ex-officer Chauvin was still a police officer, because he had 17 violations prior to the incident with George Floyd. And that's somebody, to me, he should have been fucking fired. And now things are coming out about Officer Chauvin that is like even more egregious, which I'm not surprised now why it got pushed to second degree murder, but it actually might get pushed to first degree murder. So I don't know if any of you guys knew this, but George Floyd and Officer Chauvin, ex-Officer Chauvin, I forget, Derek Chauvin, they knew each other. They worked with each other.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but yeah, they worked at a nightclub together.
Yeah, and they had, I guess, Derek Chauvin had an issue where, you know, George Floyd had gave him a paycheck from his boss, and he didn't appreciate how much he was getting paid, and he got mad about it. And so it's just like there's been corroborating stories about what happened, so it's not like some bullshit. And I'm just like, whoa! So they knew each other, and he did that. And one of the other things is that two of the cops that were with Derek Chauvin, yeah, one of them was like that was his fourth day on the beat, fourth day. And so when Chauvin said, "Hey, this is how we do it," he was just like, "I guess." So now I kind of feel bad for the guy, you know.
He was wet behind the ears or green. There's no doubt about it. But it kind of reminds me of that fucking Denzel movie Training Day in some ways.
Yeah, it really does. The guy got played.
Also,
did we?
Well, there was another detail did we talk about how Derek Chauvin's wife was married to like one of the cops that was there.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was a direct partner.
Yeah, it was the Asian dude. Yeah.
Yeah, did we mention that or no?
No.
Because we may have missed that last time. So there's more. There's like a lot of like cogs that are connecting with this case.
Yep. Yeah.
Did we talk about the? Just to transition also to the police union kind of stuff. One of the things that really disgusted me this week, in another episode of right after we get done recording, something crazy fucking happens.
Yeah.
What happened in Buffalo with
we didn't talk about it.
The old guy, the 75-year-old man that's standing there, and then these stormtrooper Buffalo police officers just completely shove him, bounce his head off the concrete, and just keep it moving.
Yeah.
And he starts bleeding from his ear. And then I said before, the police unions are cities. I don't want to chastise all police unions, but some of these police unions are just fucking sick and disgusting.
Yep.
But they ended up suspending the officers and then charging the 2 officers involved in that incident, even though there were like 50 others that just stood around and looked at the dude and just kept it moving. They started like cheering and chanting or whatever, and upset because these dudes got suspended at the time for fucking this old guy up. Well, I cannot believe this.
Well, the craziest part for me was that, when it first happened, there was an officer that actually bent down to see if he was okay. And another officer grabbed him by his body armor and pulled him back up. He was like, no, just keep moving. I was just like, dude, if you don't think that this is not a systemic problem, just look at these things alone. I mean, like you see somebody getting seriously injured directly in front of you, and on your creed is protect and serve, and somebody literally needs medical attention, and you don't try to help them. Like at all, and it's something that you fucking caused. Not a single officer wanted to help him. You just call on the fucking thing. Like they just walked past him. Like what the fuck?
Before the video went viral, and it's a disturbing ass video with an old man bleeding from his ears. But before it went viral, I thought, and I'll fact check myself, but I thought that the official response was, oh, he must have tripped or something like that.
Because he got pushed.
Yeah, it was flat out lie, But I mean, it's sad that without video evidence, there's just this, lies can be put out there. You know what I mean? And I'm glad it was on camera, but god damn, it's hard to watch someone who's frail and elderly bounce their head off the fucking concrete and start bleeding.
Did you hear what happened now? Insane. Did you hear what happened now? So now they're trying to see. So this is how ridiculous this whole thing has become. So normally what I see with, the retroactive, shaming of victims is not, that usually happens to African Americans. It happened to this guy. Now they're saying that he was an Antifa plant. Now they say he was an agitator.
Jesus.
I'm like, how is he an agitator? He's walking up to the police officer. He said like 3 words, and all of a sudden he got pushed to the ground. Like
who's they? Who's they that's saying it?
Well, the president parroted it.
There you go.
He parroted it. But it was before he parodied it. Obviously, it was on like a bunch of conservative news channels and shit like that. But yeah, the president tweeted about it. I'm just like, dude, you can't tweet shit like how is this guy still the guy? Like, what the fuck is wrong with America right now?
Yeah, there's so much going on. I mean, I know we got a lot on the list and whatnot, but obviously we're gonna be switching it up and coming back to this, but the thing that got me was this whole NASCAR shit too.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of that, like Confederate statues and white supremacist statues and monuments have been coming down left and right all over the world. You have everyone from General Lee, to King Leopold. Definitely look him up if you don't know who he is with the Congo. But
basically, it's like Hitler. I mean,
yeah, he killed millions of Africans, and it's disturbing as fuck that more people don't know about his atrocities against human rights. But his statue's coming down, and then maybe a couple hours before we started recording, fucking NASCAR said, "We're banning the fucking Confederate flag. Go home."
That one's going to be...
No, I mean, fuck. At some point, you got to... I mean, listen, we took a stand last week, and we got more support than we probably ever have. So, NASCAR doing it... I mean, listen, if you are still a Confederate flag supporter, there's no... I haven't heard a single logical argument about why we should have the Confederate flag. Listen, we don't fucking have the English flag flying anywhere in America.
No.
For the same fucking reason why we should not have the fucking Confederate flag. If you believe in the Confederate flag, you're literally a fucking loser. You are voting for... You're on the side of a losing side that killed more Americans than any other war that we've ever fought. Ever. And you're okay with that. You're okay with Americans killing Americans. That's good to go for you. You're fucking... It's treasonous.
And one more thing, because I don't know how people just do these mental gymnastics and whatnot. The South fought on the side of being pro-slavery.
Yeah.
Period. Point blank. I don't give a fuck about your heritage. They were pro...
Their economy.
Yeah.
That was it. War is about resources. Their resource was human property. Humans being property. And that was the whole end of it. I don't know who your fucking elementary, junior high, and high school teachers were that taught you some reverse history.
They'll say the economy, but it's in any economy that's built upon free labor. Yeah, no shit. Windfall profits because your fucking labor's free. But it's built on the backs of people that have suffered for 400 fucking years and are still suffering today. And this is why we're still seeing problems today. So yeah, probably get rid of those right now because we're in the middle of civil unrest and that flag is gonna make things even fucking worse. Way worse than it is now. I don't understand why Caucasians don't seem to understand this. People that are in the South, they don't seem to understand this. They call themselves Americans, but they believe in some shit that is the most un-American shit ever. It's the same motherfuckers that have been tricked into believing in Nazism here in America.
Yeah.
When Nazis killed your fucking grandfathers. You know what I mean? It's like, how is Nazism here in America? I still don't understand that shit. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
And you got some that will literally proudly display both of those flags.
Yeah.
It's
like,
at
what?
the same goddamn time.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen all three. They have the American flag, the Nazi flag, and then a rebel flag. And then they're just like, well, we're being oppressed upon because being white is wrong and all this. We're tired of being wrong. And it's like, dude, no one's saying... Yeah, being racist is wrong, but you're not being oppressed. But you're making it seem like you're being oppressed. They're unwilling to listen, at least the people that I've talked to that have waved 2 out of 3 of those flags. So it's just like we need to have dialogue so that way we can open. The thing about, I don't know if you guys watch Trevor Noah, because he lived through apartheid. Yeah. None of us have ever lived through anything in the States like that that's currently alive right now. So he talked about how they had the committee where there's the people who were pro-apartheid and the people that it oppressed. They actually had a huge sit-down to talk about what happened. And we didn't get that. And Trevor Noah breaks it down how America didn't get that chance to have that. They had their chance 100 years ago. It didn't go down. And he says something like that probably should happen between the African-American people of the U.S. and the United States government.
Can I add one quick thing? Sorry. Just just so people get it, because some people are maybe international listeners and they may not be aware. Inside the flags of several states in the former Southern or former slave states, there is the Confederate flag as part of the state flag, like in Georgia, maybe Bama, maybe South Carolina, but quite a few.
Yeah, Mississippi is a big one for sure. I mean, their state university mascot is the Rebels. It's Colonel Reb. It's a Confederate soldier, dude, standing there holding a fucking musket and stuff. That's their state university mascot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what's crazy?
So is UNLV for some reason, though, too.
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy is like when you listen to certain people, Caucasians, and they talk about like oppression or whatever. It's like, listen, there has been oppression against Caucasians in America.
Sure.
But you have to like listen to like their actual oppression, right? And it was like legit. If you were Italian, if you were Irish, if you were Jewish, you know, ask grandparents of people that are alive today. Ask their grandparents, you know, if their grandparents are still alive, what it was like to grow up, or even maybe like great grandparents if they're still alive. Like if you're in like the early 1900s, like they definitely had actual oppression. But the thing is that during their oppression that happened, they were basically treated just like black folks, like African Americans back in the day. They really were. They weren't given, you know, all the same rights. They had to work basically as not slaves but in indentured service. Basically, you know, they were treated like shit. But the thing is that Americans realized that they look enough like them to be accepted into the fold. You know, and so that's how they got around that. And so that's when that's when the whole like we're all just white thing happened. So they got accepted. But if you're an African American, like our skin is dark. Like there's no getting around that. You know, and I think you know, it's interesting like listening to the podcast with Prodigy's mom. Really great podcast. And when I'm listening to that, I had like a very conflicted thoughts on African Americans' integration or attempt at integration with the rest of America.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't know how to put this. Like, I'm trying to put it like the most tame way as possible, but it's like, is what was done was the outcome for the best idea for African Americans today? And what I mean is that when your mom was growing up, she almost had a better experience because the community was so tight. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And they protected each other. And, you know, like when she was talking about like how her parents protected her from seeing racism. And then, you know, when we saw, you know, when they shut down the bus lines and like they had people whoever had cars that was African American, they would pick up somebody and be like, hey, where you got to go? I can get you closer. You know what I mean? The next person will pick them up, blah, 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 blah. But we don't see that today. And I think part of that is because we tried to integrate into American society. And I don't think that it was done in the best way possible, I guess. Only because of the outcome. That's the only reason why I'm saying that.
No, I get that.
But if
I really enjoy... Oh, sorry. No, finish up. No, I was saying I did definitely take, that was one of the most eye-opening things. For those that don't know, check out the interview that me and Prodigy did with Mama, we call her Mama French?
Mama French.
Mama French, Mama Prodigy, whichever.
Mama French. But that's what stuck out to me a lot was how, and you put it in a funny term, there was a mini Wakanda in Montgomery, Alabama. Yeah. Which was really cool, and I did not know anything about that. I didn't know that I've heard of cities like that, but I did not know that Montgomery, Alabama was one of them. And I really liked how she explained that these were sort of at all these other spots where you had HBCUs and everything. So that part was really, really cool. The only thing that I would be really interested in, I'd be interested, but I know I'd feel like really sad afterward, is hearing somebody who didn't live in one of those Wakanda areas or whatever, because Mama French said the neighboring county was not like that at all. They couldn't even vote there and anything. And like that, I kind of want to hear the horror story stuff, but I know that is going to have like such a pain. It's going to be painful to hear that story, but I do think it needs to be heard and told and everything. So yeah,
maybe we can
Definitely.
find somebody. Like if anybody that's a listener out there that has somebody that's like what we just talked about, a story where they lived. It's probably going to be like your parents or your grandparents. You know, if they have a story where they were living as a minority in like the 60s and 70s outside of like outside of like an integrated community, like just a purely like segregated community. If you lived into if you lived in an integrated community back in the 60s and 70s and you were a minority, what was life like for you? I'd be very interested in hearing that story. Yep. But yeah, I think that's one of the things where, you know, if you look at the Asian community, like the Asian community is still like really tight. Like they still are kind of like, I don't want to say like totally separated, but they definitely keep to themselves way more than African Americans have. And that's something that I'm also interested in hearing that story because I think they've reaped certain benefits that, you know, that our communities haven't because they've kept things separate. And I think that they've had positive and negative effects from that. You know, I think that'd be interesting to talk about. Me and Bunny Man are probably going to talk about that. We're gonna actually start a whole different podcast sometime soon. I'll start promoting it in a bit once we get everything like settled down. But I'm really interested to see like how they figured that out and how we kind of did. I think that after the civil rights movement, you know, we thought everything was cool. Like we integrated into society, but society didn't really accept us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's very apparent today.
Yeah. And there's plenty of communities that didn't do shit for in terms of accepting and had other ways of continuing to keep black people out through the 70s, 80s, and even through the 90s. And there's been lawsuits even in the 2000s.
Yeah. I mean,
against plenty of folks for literal discrimination because you're black. But yeah, this is important. Can I switch it up a little bit though? Because I do want to. I want to piggyback on something from last week and Stitch. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. It looks like there's some Punisher news that
yeah. I thought I was in trouble.
Broken down.
They heard your plea.
I thought I was in trouble. Yeah, go ahead, speak on it.
So to me,
I don't know the guy's name and everything, but yeah, the actual facts of it.
Yeah, but I'll pull up his name, or someone can pull up his name while I'm talking. But the creator of the punishment is not down with exactly what Stitch has mentioned. The certain members of law enforcement basically stealing the image of the Punisher, that skull, that iconic skull that's been around since the 70s, and using it as their symbol. The creator of the Punisher said, "Fuck that noise. I'm down with Black Lives Matter," and I believe he took some black artists to help redesign the skull and was putting that out there. I know I saw it on Twitter. Yeah. Did we get his name? Hold on.
While you guys look that up, now is he he's the creator of the Punisher? I mean, I know of the Punisher, Frank Castle and everything, and sort of like his character mythology, but I don't know like who created him, why he was created or anything.
He was a co-creator. His name is Jerry Conway.
Okay. He's a white guy, black guy?
I believe he's a white guy. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, like I said last week, I forget. I was just deep into my rant about. I think we were talking about like the systematic racism inside certain police departments, and I think that spoke on how I believe that a lot of people using the Punisher skull mixed with like the blue line flag with the Punisher skull with the blue line across it and adopting that as like a law enforcement symbol is just disgusting to me in certain ways because you're promoting vigilante justice. You're not giving anybody their day in court. You're being judge, jury, and executioner. I've seen like Spartan helmets with it and stuff like that, and I don't want to get all nitpicky about that aspect of it, but what spoke to me was the Punisher skull and everything, and that it does feel like it was being stolen away and adopted for that aspect of law enforcement. And I don't believe that those two should commingle at all, based on what the Punisher does, has no problem doing in his comics or anything like that. It's just like just adopting that symbol and repping it just because it looks cool. And I just thought it gave a bad message. But apparently, the co-creator came out and was just like, "Yo, we're putting a stop to this." He actually called me or whatever and asked my thoughts on it. I said, "Yo, you gotta stop this right now." And he's like, "Really, Stitch?" And I was like, "Yeah, you need to do one for the culture." And he's like, "Yo, I got you." And that's how I remember it, though, at least. But I was like, "You gotta." During the press release, you can't say our name or anything like that. We just want to give you the credit for doing this on your own, Mr. White Man, who created the Punisher. And he's like, all right, fam, I got you. So a little inside baseball on that. So he proceeded to go ahead and start to reclaim the Punisher based on my idea after we talked about it. So may or not happen. So my sources tell me.
What's cool about this is that what Jerry Conway did is that he actually reached out on Twitter and he's like, hey, if you're an African American artist, like DM me and let's take this skull back. Basically, is what he said. And so now he's doing a custom make T-shirt fundraising for Black Lives Matter, and there's 4 shirts on here. I'll pull it up on the screen right now so everybody can see. But there are some really cool designs, and the one that has like the highest amount sold is the one that I would probably get. It basically says Black Lives Matter, and the 4 fingers at the top, if you're holding your fist up, it says BLM, and then underneath that is the thumb and like the wrist and like part of the pinky are the skull, like make up the rest of the skull, right. And it looks really fucking badass, and it's already raised over $14,000 in like the matter of days. Nice. So I'll probably buy one because it looks dope. So I'm glad that that an artist is taking his artwork back. Like that's cool.
You know what I'm amazed by with Marvel and obviously the ownership of Disney and whatnot. They're pretty litigious in general, and I'm just amazed that that imagery has gotten stolen fairly easily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you think about optics though, Prodigy. I mean, police officers are using like a symbol, but do you want to get in a fight with like the police department, like anywhere? But I mean, before now, you know what I mean? Do you really want to open up the doors?
I would say if it's one of your logos, it's odd to me. It's odd to me that they've been okay with the logo being used because in general with an intellectual property that you own, you don't let anybody for free use your logo.
Yeah.
That's just on GP. You don't do that.
Well,
no matter who.
Especially when they're like totally misrepresenting what the Punisher is about. I mean, Stitch already talked about it, but it's just like if you were a cop, any kind of law enforcement officer, you should not be using a Punisher as like your guy, because he's not. He just goes up there and fucks people up. That's not what cops do.
Captain America's a much better choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't switch it up and do Deathstroke either, because that would also be fucked.
Yeah, no Deathstroke, no Deadpool. Nah. None
of them. Holy fucking shit. All right. Old
Ninja, you haven't gotten in.
Yeah, you haven't gotten in here for shit. Old Ninja, what you got on? Did you want to switch it up to something else?
No, I thought you said you were gonna bring in something that you wanted to talk about. No, or you already covered your.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, the only other thing I got is in terms of my own personal vendetta against this. If you didn't fucking listen to Rage Against the Machine, please shut the entire fuck up. There's just been too many dumbasses talking about fucking Zach De La Rocca or Tom Morello. I can't stand that you're so political now. Motherfucker, obviously you've never listened to Rage Against the Machine if you think that they are political now. Every single one of their albums has been political, has been anti-fascist. Almost every single one of their songs, every single one of their lyrics, all of their cons.
Well, what are they? Oh, he just cut out. I think he just dropped.
Oh, yeah, I'm back.
Well, no,
I don't know what happened.
Prodigy just died. Yeah, but
cut out.
it's like talking about Rage Against the Machine. Like, who do you think they're raging against? The machine was like, you know, people in power. Like, that's the machine. It's so insane now that people just don't understand. And it's like first of all, it's like Rage Against the Machine hasn't released anything new in like a number of years. So it's like if you just now start listening to music and you just now realize that they're talking about political shit, then you're a fucking moron. I don't understand.
Well, Rage broke up for a while. They just barely got back together, and now they're a lot older from back then, so they're not really. I think they were supposed to tour this summer, if I remember correctly.
But they don't. There's no new album. So when people are like talking about how they're political now, it's like they were political 20 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
Hilarious.
Damn
millennials.
So I want to ask. We are going to get a lot of, I guess, a big news tomorrow. In terms of the PlayStation 5.
We're gonna finally see what it looks like, yeah.
I would assume we're gonna hopefully see what it looks like.
Price maybe.
Point. Yeah, and probably 10 minutes afterwards, I'm gonna hop in my car, go to GameStop, and put a deposit on it, just because I'm crazy like that.
I'll do it online.
Yeah.
But I guess Kronos, you said you saw some stuff on IGN today. Did they have any inside info that they were kind of hinting at that they might have known before the official news dropped tomorrow?
Well, there was no news that was dropped. So they're doing the Summer of Play, IGN, which is, listen, IGN is doing what they can because everybody knows that right now it's supposed to be fucking E3. And E3 ain't fucking happening right now. So IGN's like, let's cobble some shit together. Let's talk to some developers. Let's, make sure there's some sort of gaming news today. When people really want gaming news, especially given the fact that we're going to have the new generation of consoles this year. And so they dropped a bunch of stuff. But yeah, nothing specifically PS5 related. But they did drop some cool new trailers for games, that I appreciated. There was, GTFO. That wasn't really new. That's been out for a while, but they might drop for the PS4. They dropped a trailer for a new Soulsborne type game. And a few other games as well, but it's been interesting to see them just put together this stuff with the industry on kind of a short notice. I feel like it feels like a short notice. But yeah, tomorrow I'm really looking forward to seeing how much it's going to cost. Probably, I think it's going to cost $600, maybe $550. If it's more, I don't really give a shit. Now that I'm seeing researching the actual technical specs of the PS5, I honestly think that the PS5 has the potential to dethrone the Master Race, the PC Master Race for performance.
Hot take.
Yeah, it's a hot take. Yeah, so they're actually going to utilize an SSD as a real piece of technology. So if y'all don't know, how do I put it down for the layman? So I my actual profession is I'm an actual data storage. I'm a senior data storage engineer, so I know a lot about data storage. SSDs have revolutionized data storage, but it's been crazy expensive. Recently it's come down in price, right? But the greatest thing about SSDs, solid state drives, for y'all who didn't know, is that there's no seek time. So if on a normal hard drive, it's literally it's a little spinning platter, and there's a little fucking needle that has to read the fucking data off the shit, right? So depending on where the data is on that platter, it could take a longer seek time or a less seek time. So it's like a record, basically, a very tiny record. So shit on the outside takes longer to get to. Shit on the inside it's easier to get to. That's why you defrag your hard drive, by the way. When you defrag your hard drive is to get shit in a more contiguous space.
Better circle.
Yeah, so you can read from it and write to it easier. But in SSDs you don't have that problem because it's a solid state drive, so you can your read and write times are significantly greater than a spinning disk. However, outside of enterprise data storage, which is what I do, nobody's really been using SSD drives to their full potential. So in enterprise data storage, what they figured out is that we can use SSDs as sort of RAM. So if you have RAM right now, RAM is fast as fuck. Usually when you're playing a game, the game is basically loaded up into RAM, and you're getting your game through RAM. And when you need certain things, that are when you have load screens. The load screens are because you have to go to to your hard drive, read the data, and then pull it up. and then go. It pulls it up into RAM, and that's how you go. In enterprise data storage, they figured out that hey, SSDs are so fucking fast that you can basically use SSDs as RAM for certain aspects, and so that's what the PS5 is going to do potentially. Is they're going to make it so that instead of using the interface between like hard drive and RAM, it's going to be able to pull things directly from the SSD drive with no seek time. So you're going to have significantly improved throughputs. You're going to have like virtually low or no load screens anymore because it's going to be able to load things on the fly because it knows where everything is already. And you can get to it so fucking fast. So PCs can't even do this right now because they're not.
Is the Xbox, the new Xbox, going to have the same technology or?
From what I've seen, no, not yet, but they could. I mean,
okay.
the thing with the PS5 is that they're actually utilizing other hardware, specialized hardware, to implement that jump, right? Where you can use the SSD as like another high-speed hardware aspect. You know, I don't know what the Xbox is doing. If they do, that'd be fucking great. But I haven't heard anything about that yet. But yeah, using the SSD as like a high-speed tool like that, that's going to revolutionize like a lot. It's going to really free a lot of developers from having to put in like bullshit load screens and having to like just write code a certain way to where you need to like basically hide the way that you do load screens. You know, like if you ever like watch videos on like how they did Horizon Zero Dawn, like the way they write stuff around like where you're looking, but now they can write stuff everywhere, even when you're not looking, because it's going to be there, or at least read from it. You know, and it's going to be a huge leap, potentially a huge leap. If somebody, I think it's going to be mostly for PS5 exclusive games, because if you have to write a game that has to utilize, you know, a non-solid state drive without this specialized hardware, you're gonna have to write it the traditional way, where it's gonna be, you know, load screens and seek times and all that shit. But if you're writing a game just for the PS5, holy shit, potentially this could be a fucking game changer.
Even games like Red Dead Redemption 2, it's beautiful, it's an open world game and whatnot, but like when you go to the camp, it's still it slows down to a crawl space. You can't have Arthur running through the camp.
Yep.
The reason for that is it's basically acting like a weird little kind of load screen. And even when you go through like certain tunnels in like not so much God of War, but like Uncharted, and it slows you down on purpose as you kind of do this cinematic walk through this narrow pass. Hopefully, it sounds like this PS5 will be eliminating that bullshit.
Yeah, same thing. Like I give the perfect example is like in Mass Effect when you go in the elevator. Like they're loading up everything through the elevator. That's why the elevator scene is there, is to load it up. But potentially in the PS5, it can eliminate that. And so what Prodigy's talking about in Red Dead Redemption, when you go into the camp, the reason why you have to slow down is because they have to load in all these assets for characters and dialogue and, you know, missions and all. Like usually when you go into a city, most of the NPCs are like, they're kind of dumb, you know, but when you go into your camp, these are all potential mission assets and all these other dialogue trees you have to go through. So you have to load shit like that, you know. So it makes sense.
The reveal, according to the rumor mill and the internet, which is never wrong, looks like it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I'm
tomorrow
saying.
At 1-ish, I think.
Oh, was it 1? Yeah.
Well, I forget what time's that. I might have read 1 Chicago time or something like that.
I think you're right. Yeah. I'm going to try to watch it because I know that K-Mac is taking tomorrow off. So I'm like, all right, maybe I can watch this tomorrow.
Yeah, the date is 1 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow.
Okay. Cool.
Good shit, man. I'm excited. I'm also, you know, I'm more excited about certain games. So I really want to hear some fun announcements. And then, of course, everybody wants to know the fucking price for this thing, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll fucking see.
What's your estimates?
I'm gonna say they're not gonna go north of $600. I think $599 is the ceiling.
I'm gonna say $4.99.
Mm.
I agree with Prodigy. I think $600 is probably where it's going to
The
be.
old Ninja, what you got on this one? What's your
Do
estimate?
you think they'll bundle it at that price, or it'll just be?
I think that's the base price.
I think
that's
that's
like the
base. No
price.
games,
Yeah.
no games, no nothing. Just
Okay.
controller and console. I think $599 sounds about what it's probably going to launch at.
You know what also people need to be very aware of, and I know nobody wants to hear this. This is super unpopular. But motherfuckers, games have been $60 since the PS3 360 era. We are now entering the PS5 era, so that's literally 2 generations ago. I realize with inflation and all of that, games in the 80s were 40, sometimes even $50 on cartridges and whatnot, in late 80s especially. But don't be surprised, gamers, if a retail price for a new game on the PS5 is $70 or $75.
Before people like take that the wrong way, we have been very fortunate to where the gaming industry has been pretty fair with that price, because we have games that are like, yeah, AAA games are $60, right? I totally understand that. However, you also have games that are indie games that are like $30 or below, so
Of course.
But before, previous to like this generation, like indie games still cost a lot of money. They still cost like retail price. So I'm definitely glad that we have tiers of games. You can still have fun playing games that are indie games, quote unquote indie games, for a lower price, and games still come down in price relatively quickly. I mean, like, seriously,
Yes.
like, just think about like when we were growing up. How long did it take for a fucking game to drop in price? It didn't happen.
Yeah.
There were no game sales.
I'm with that. I'm just saying, for the 90% of the games, the AAA, AA, whatever, we're used to that $60 price tag as kind of being the highest, and we've had it for 2 generations, going on 3 now. I don't see that staying as status quo indefinitely, because just from an economic standpoint, it's also more expensive to make a game in 2020 than it was to make a game from the man hours and the time than it was in the 90s.
Well, hold on, Prodigy. I'm pretty sure that the $60 price range came for the PS4 only.
No, it was the PS3.
A PS3, I thought it was $50.
I thought it was. Okay, let me fact check myself. I thought 360 era.
I'm pretty sure it was this generation where the price.
I thought that was PS3 and 360 as well. Let me fact check.
I'm not sure, but we do have Last of Us coming out. Do we?
We have
Next week.
Next week.
Oh, next
9
week.
days.
Next week.
Yeah.
We do get something new coming. That'll be exciting to play and talk about.
Yeah, we'll fucking see. I'm really looking. That's on the 19th. Have you guys pre-ordered?
No, didn't get a chance.
No, I probably will tomorrow when I pre-order my PS5.
Oh, you think it's going to be available for pre-order right away?
I don't see why not. That's how they normally do once they make the announcement. It's just like you can kind of go rush to your GameStop pre-order and do whatever.
If you can find a GameStop.
Yeah, I was about to say, you better hope that GameStop's even open in your area. Some of them are closed permanently. So, you got to find out what's going on.
Yeah, we'll see. The other thing I wanted to actually bring up a little bit as well. What's going on with this Harry Potter chick and Terry Crews? I've seen them be completely canceled all over the place.
So I think I know about the Terry Crews one, but not the J.K. Well, the J.K. Rowling was, I guess she said that people that are trans aren't really female. I'm just like, okay. The Terry Crews one was talking about like something about like you can't. Something about black dominance. I'll pull it up. Hold on. I'm doing this very poorly.
Yeah, the Terry Crews ones sound confusing, and I didn't quite get it. So I was like, what's everyone jumping on him about? What happened?
Pull up his exact quote.
No idea. J.K. Rowling, I know, is getting flamed on Twitter and certain magazines and trades, and some of the stars have come out and said some stuff against her comments. So I was just like, what? It's kind of
I
crazy.
thought
Okay,
the
let me-
J.K. Rowling's thing had something to do with like menstruation and transgender.
Well,
That's what I briefly saw, but I didn't hear it.
they're calling her a TERF, a trans exclusionary radical feminist or something like that. Jesus Christ, they get that right?
God damn,
Yeah, it's a
that's long.
crazy fucking
Sure.
term.
Sounds right. No idea.
Yeah, basically
Speak on.
somebody that thinks that if you weren't born with a vagina, then you're not female, which I'm like... I'm honestly concerned to even comment at this point, because people are going to get mad, you know? It's just,
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that.
It's a trap.
What are you supposed to say?
I mean, if you can't have a baby...
Wait, say that again? It was a trap? Why
Yeah,
are you giggling over there,
it's a trap.
Prodigy? Oh, man. Why are you giggling about your traps?
I don't know why people get so mad about it, but honestly, I don't fucking get it. Listen, if you want to be called a female, we'll call you a female. Like that, I got no problem with that. But if you lack the biology of a female, then it's like there's something there. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that that's like totally irrelevant. You know, like if you can't have a baby, if you don't have ovaries, fallopian tubes, you know, all these other various female organs, you know, I don't understand why that is so controversial today. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not trying to disparage people that are transgender at all. I'm just saying, like, from a biological aspect, you know, there's certain things you can't do.
So what did she say? Or
I got
confused on that.
Let me focus on. I looked at Terry Crews first. So sorry, even though I talked about
Okay.
J.K. Rowling first, but
Yeah, we'll take them one at a time. So we'll work on Terry Crews.
So
right?
Terry Crews.
What did Terry do this time?
His apparent controversial tweet is I'm quoting from him: "Defeating white supremacy without white people creates black supremacy. Equality is the truth. Like it or not, we're all in this together." And honestly, I don't have that much problems with what he's saying. I don't think that black supremacy would happen without white people, but you know, equality is truth. Yeah, I mean, I want people to be equal, and I think we need to defeat it. But I think the first thing that he says, okay, defeating white supremacy without white people. Yeah, you can't do it without white people. But then the part about creates black supremacy, I'm like, probably not, because we're only like 12% of the population, so definitely not here in America.
He seems.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and I know you guys like him way more than I do. I just to rewind the tape. I was not a big fan of his, even when he inserted himself very awkwardly into the Me Too stuff with saying that a gay producer grabbed his fucking nutsack in front of his wife at some dinner or whatever.
You had a problem with that?
Yeah, I never got on board with him on that. I really didn't. I was.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I guess we got to have a segue, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't
he
think that
did
was
the gold neckline,
You don't think
Yeah, I didn't even want him really nominated for it.
but he won that category.
Pro-
Which
hold
was,
on.
But he did win.
Okay, hold on.
Well,
Prodigy, you got a problem with what happened to him, or?
absolutely. He inserted himself into the Me Too extremely awkwardly.
Wait,
For
okay,
me,
stop for a second. What do you mean awkwardly? Like, what happened to him was kind of fucked up.
here's the thing. I've never really gotten on board with his story on that. He claimed to be this victim of it and put himself in the Me Too, which was mostly about women. That was the whole thing about women being victims of, especially workplace, sexual harassment and assault. That was kind of the whole deal. He put himself in it. Well, look, you got a puzzled look on your face. I'll stop there for a second.
Well, I mean,
Am I saying something
I don't want to say he put
wrong
himself.
about that?
Well, saying he put himself in it. I mean, if it happened to him, it happened to him. So I don't want to make it sound like. I mean, if it is factual that happened to him and he was sexually harassed, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into if Me Too is just about women being harassed, or if it's just about straight women being harassed by men, or if it's gay men being harassed by other men of power or women, anything. If it factually happened where somebody in his industry tried to exert their power over him sexually, I don't have a problem with him saying it or bring awareness, because to me it seemed like he was bringing awareness that this does happen to men as well, straight men at that. So I don't think he was hijacking the Me Too stuff, as long as it was true, which to my knowledge it was. So I'm kind of I don't have a problem with it. And I don't really consider that he kind of inserted himself in it. I don't think he took away from any of the main talking points of it.
So to also piggyback on what Stitch was saying, there's one of Kevin Spacey's accuser was also part of the Me Too movement. One of the actors. The one that's on Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
He's the one that he added to with Terry Crews that he was assaulted basically by Kevin Spacey, and he put himself as part of the Me Too movement, which was a gay man being assaulted by another closeted gay man at the same time. So I don't feel as if Terry Crews interjected, inserted, or tried to derail, because there was men as well. Those two, I think there's a handful of other ones. Anthony Rapp is the actor who was like, I'm part of this movement as well. They're not the only two guys that are part of the Me Too movement. They're the ones who are not getting the most support, and that's what Terry Crews brought the Me Too movement under fire for.
Okay, so did to my knowledge, Terry Crews did not get fired or anything like that, right?
He did lose work because he lost out on what would have been the next Expendables film. He was basically.
I thought he was in a couple Expendables films.
He is. But they're going to do another one, but they because of his agency, who happened to be the man who assaulted him, who represented him, they basically ousted him because of it. And they're also.
I didn't know he named the guy.
Well, even if
he named him,
even if he didn't lose a job, I mean, what happened to him was that's not right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Listen, I haven't been on Team Terry Crews. I just haven't. The whole thing didn't sit well with me. Couple years ago, I thought it was a very awkward insertion. I'm still going to say those words. That's my opinion on it. Obviously, you guys disagreed then. You can disagree now. I'm trying to move forward to this. The black supremacy stuff seems, again, a very awkward phrasing of whatever he's trying to say. It doesn't make sense. It sounds really dumb to me. It has no real logic into it, and I know he's doubled down on what he said on Twitter. This just seems, it seems like he put out a tweet, didn't think very well about it, and I mean, he's rightly so getting roasted, but I don't even kind of get where he was coming from on this.
Well, I understand part of where he was coming from, but not the whole black supremacy thing, because I don't think that African Americans in general, we're not trying to dominate people. You know what I mean? We're just trying to fucking survive. A lot of us. I mean, to be honest, and I don't. Yeah, that whole black supremacy thing. I don't understand what that was. But the everything else that he said, you need, if you want to defeat this whole white supremacy thing here in America, and you want to stop racism here in America, you need to convince Caucasians that this is a problem. And I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing now, is that we're finally seeing Caucasians on board, because they're actually waking up. They're like, holy shit, you are getting fucked. Still, to this day. And that's why you see some of the most avid supporters of the Black Lives Matter movement, today, are Caucasian, especially Caucasian women, which is kind of hilarious to me. But they're out there and just fighting the fight, and they have no skin in the game, And I'm happy to see it, but yeah.
I will say this: the only time I've actually really seen black supremacy is cuckold videos. I mean, to be honest, put that out there. I mean, if you really want to see it and it's work, there you go.
Yeah, man. He's a
so what about
weird
the J.K. Rowling thing, man? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he seems like a weird fucking dude, man. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. JK, I I'm not a Potterhead, so let me just start with that.
I am.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. I'm not shitting on that fandom. I know it's fucking huge, but at the same time, um, she seems to keep pissing off her fucking fan base in a lot of ways over and over again. With this specific incident, um, I I don't quite, and someone can pull up the quote, but I don't get if she was trying to make a biology scientific argument against them, or if it was more on the lines of fuck those people. Because the response seems to be, oh, she's against these people, and then Daniel Radcliffe and Hermione and all the others seem to be like, fuck JK.
That's what it's looking like.
Sorry,
I don't know.
She wrote about it. So today, I can't even read the whole thing because it's like a very long article now on her opinion page about J.K. Rowling writes about her reasons for speaking out on sex and gender issues. I can't read the whole thing because it's like basically
too long.
It's a long essay, but yeah, I gotta get to the original thing that she said that made people mad, but I can probably bet that it was something that was
what was the original thing?
That's what I'm trying to find. But she's just she said turf wars in one of her tweets. It's kind of funny, rapid onset gender dysphoria. We believe in free speech. Okay, so that's yeah, I can't. It's goddamn. I hate the internet sometimes. Where they just yeah, I don't. They're diluting everything. I need to see her actual thing that she said.
Original tweet, or I think it was an article post. I don't know if it was a tweet. Was it?
I have at this point I have no fucking idea.
I don't know. I just saw people going.
Because I wasn't sure. I think it might have been an interview, and someone asked her about trans females, and she said she felt a certain way, and then boom, she stepped on a landmine and everything blew up.
Yeah, so we're not gonna do this on this podcast because it's gonna take too fucking long to actually go through the whole thing, because it's we gotta read fucking stories and essays on this shit, and this is not an easy answer. I was not prepared to talk about this. I don't think any of us were, obviously, at this point. Yeah, we'll get back to this at another time, because unless you said something that was really outlandish, which I can't find. This is what the problem with the internet is. I want to find what the fuck she said that was fucked up instead of her response to what she said that was fucked up. You know what I mean?
Remember when we were talking about Doja 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And we were like, do we have the receipts of what actually happened other than the reaction? And it was just kind of buried in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. From what I'm reading, the tweet that came under fire is she tweeted about a headline, and the headline said "people who menstruate," and she put something under it saying "people who menstruate." I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. She tweeted on Saturday. Someone help me out, and she puts "wumben," WUMBEN. Wimpun or whatever, kind of mocking women, but spelling it all different ways and stuff like that. And I guess the transgender community got pissed at her for not understanding that there are, transgender people that do menstruate, but are not necessarily women. That's based on what I'm.
Yeah, that's news to me too.
That's news.
Unless you can, I guess, transplant a uterus into somebody. That's
functional
just
one.
This is on just basic biological shit. If you can do that, that's news to me. Then yeah, I guess. And if you can change your chromosomes, then yeah, then you'll be a woman. But as far as I know today, it's not really possible.
I don't know. I don't know the progression on science on what to happen surgical to have people menstruate or whatever. I don't know that, or I'm going to pretend like I understand. But I guess people were pissed off that she's refusing to maybe acknowledge that people other than women, which I guess would include transgender people, do or can menstruate or something like that. And then so people out to her, and she maybe wasn't trying to hear that.
Yeah, I mean,
from what I just read,
I've seen a bunch of comments. I've seen stuff about, there are trans men who can menstruate, and there are trans women who I guess menstruate, and I was like, well, this is confusing to me, so I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna read what everyone's saying and just be like, okay.
Yeah, these are all these are fucking landmines, and it's just they're people that are just gonna I feel like no matter what we say at this point, definitely things that I've said people are gonna be mad about. But no matter what any of us say at this point, it's gonna be a landmine. People are gonna be fucking angry about it. You know what I mean? It's just like I can't. It's hard for me to separate biological things from other things. I can't speak on these other aspects.
Exactly. I can't say that I can either. I'm looking at a biological standpoint, and then the trans community is like, well, there's different and new information that I don't know. So I'm going to refuse to comment until I get this new information and go from there.
Let's switch it up then.
Maybe they have uterus implants. I don't fucking know. So
let's switch it up then. What's going on with the Flash dude getting fired? What's going on with the Flash?
Man, this is all bad because I actually like his character. So to preface, if you don't know what the fuck we're talking about, Sawyer or Hartley Sawyer, he plays the elongated man on the Flash. He's been on since season 3, I believe, and they're on season 6 now or 7. And someone found out some tweets from 2012, and he had some pretty disturbing tweets. Some were misogynistic, some were slightly racist, some were blatantly inappropriate, and it's just like, wait, what the hell?
You know what's funny? I was reading through them, and I was like, this guy was trying to be a comic, but he's fucking terrible.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
So now he's paying the consequences. Which is kind of bad because it was like 8 years ago, but whatever.
8 years ago, but he got fired all
How old was he? How old was he? Because transition into Wahlberg, but how old was he when those tweets happened?
An adult.
Yeah, he was an adult for sure. Not like Wahlberg, who was 15. Which before you get into what you were talking about.
Yeah, we'll come back to him.
Hang on, I can get you Hartley Sawyer stuff, but I mean, did you? I know that Cronus just said he read some of his tweets. Did any of the rest of you read some?
I read them.
Yeah, they were bad. Yeah, they were terrible jokes.
Yeah.
I mean, the Al Sharpton one was all bad. I was like, really?
I'm gonna say this real quickly. This kind of reminds me of deja vu with James Gunn. In a lot of ways, in terms of retroactively going back and terminating somebody for things that were done a long time ago that were fucked up. If you read them as kind of factual statements of his belief, then they seem fucked up. But at the same time, this guy's nowhere near as important to Flash as James Gunn is to Guardians of the Galaxy. And maybe Marvel as a whole. So it does suck for him. It seems like he put his foot in his mouth. I feel, and people may disagree or hate me for this, but I feel a little apprehensive on the aspect of retroactive terminations for tweets that you as CW should have been aware of. If at least over these last 4 years, it just seems like we're angry about other stuff nationally, rightly so, and let's go back and look at his old tweets and be angry about him too.
I mean, he's been with the CW for a minute because he's on one of their other shows.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, he plays with. Right now, I don't know if you guys are watching. He's in a very interesting story because Flash ended in a cliffhanger pretty much, which is rare for the Flash. But there's literally 4 different storylines, and his storyline is part of the main overall story arc. So it's going to be weird to see if they recast or if they kill him off.
He's going to die.
Yeah, man. This isn't quite the same situation of Batwoman losing the lead character. But
no, she quit. She quit versus getting fired. That's what we're looking at.
Well, they still
you're
lost
absolutely
her.
right.
They definitely lost her, is what Prodigy said.
Yeah. So, but it's not a good look for the Flash, and it also sets a really weird additional precedent of, hey, you got to go back 6, 7, 8, 10 years to when you were first on Twitter and delete everything.
Well, this is, God damn it. All right, listen, we're going through some serious civil unrest right now, and I get that. But you can't cancel everybody. All right, so let's be real careful about, the people are getting the power right now, right? They're getting some power back in their hands, but let's not overwield that like certain police officers. All right, let's not destroy people's entire careers for some shit that they said when they were basically, undeveloped humans. If you're in your early 20s, you're an undeveloped human, and you can also overcome shit that you've gone through when you're... Listen, I've said some really fucked up shit when I was young. Really fucked up shit when I was young. Thank goodness there was no Twitter back then. Yeah. But I grew up, and now that I'm in my 40s, I've seen my failures as a young man, and I have grown, and I think that a lot of people, this cancel culture has gotten so, ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, there's still some shit that, it's kind of, it's sort of unforgivable, but it's like when you're young, this goes back to American culture where we're ingrained with this whole, prison complex thing where somebody can't really be forgiven for anything. When you go to prison and you get out, you're still branded a criminal. There's no reform there. They haven't rehabilitated you. Listen, if you don't think that you've grown and you're more wise than when you were in your early 20s or even before that, then there's something really fucking wrong with you and you're lying to yourself. That's the easiest way I can put it to you. You're basically full of bullshit. And you really need to think about that when you think about trying to cancel somebody for some shit they said 8 years ago when they're still relatively young. If you want to bring it up and talk to them about it, yeah, I get that. Have them do a public statement and talk about it, But just immediately canceling somebody for some shit they said such a long time ago when they could have likely changed their whole life around for whatever reason. It's perfect example is my girlfriend K-Mac. She had no idea about, black issues until 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
No idea. And that's all a lot of Americans are right now. Was it their fault? Not necessarily, but, they're understanding now. And you can see human growth in all these people. They might have ignored all the shit before because they just didn't see it. They didn't understand how it hurt somebody. But now they do. When you don't give them a chance to really explain themselves, you just cancel them immediately. What if they've grown as a human being? They might not have. Don't get me wrong. They might still be a piece of shit.
Did we learn any fucking thing from James Gunn? Because these same comic book fans, which I consider myself one, cheered and loved the fact that James Gunn got rehired, basically after being canceled, quote unquote, for almost a year, wasn't it? That he was given the boot. Yep. And a lot of people, maybe about half of them, felt that was too harsh because they loved his movies and all of that. And then when he got brought back on, he was celebrated. And so his stuff from the past, his old tweets are still, still happened, still occurred. And none of that changed those old tweets. But I just don't like the precedent. I really don't. That and the fact that I got dick pics out there that are going to not let me, be able to run wild in my old age.
Yeah, well, that and your questionable live action food pics.
Yeah, man. You know I can't get hired by CW.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you can't hire by any public figure. That you can't run for office, you can't be on TV, none of that stuff.
Well, I mean,
YouTube is barely passing.
Don't get me wrong. If somebody has a serious history, if you did shit in 8 years ago and you continue that behavior up until today, then you've got a fucking problem. But if you said something 8 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever, and you have exhibited none of those same behaviors up until today, it's perhaps they have changed. People can grow, And I think that this is just I almost think this is almost uniquely American because we are so used to people. We're so used to just like judging people and like saying that this is how they were then, this is how they're gonna be for all time, and not just like understanding that people can grow. And it's like, as a society, we're kind of fucked up, and it shows today. You know, as a society, we're still fucked up because we ignored so many fucking issues here in America. You know, and this like the issues that I'm talking about here in America, those were ongoing issues that people ignored. That's the shit that people should be focused on because it's ongoing. But if somebody says something that's fucked up, like, you know, years ago or like a fucking long time ago, let me talk to the person today. If they have the same views, then yeah, they're a fucking piece of shit. But if they don't and they can explain themselves, then we need to be able to forgive. And if you can't forgive somebody when they're sincerely sorry about what they've done and they've changed their ways, then as a society we are never going to move forward ever. Never, ever, never.
And I don't believe you, CW. You definitely had background checks. You're a major. You know, you knew about this. You didn't just find out about it in 2020. Stitch, you wanted to switch gears to someone in Boston that had a history. What were you going to say?
Well, I saw it on I guess one of your Facebook posts. Someone brought to your attention about Mark Wahlberg. I had known Mark Wahlberg did some crazy, wild, racist, like there's a difference between like maybe like some high school level doing some dumb, ignorant shit, but he brought it to a different level back in the day. So much so that he has his own Wikipedia section for hate crimes under his name.
Call them what they are.
Yeah.
Multiple.
It's a really good transition from the other guy from the Flash. Just real quickly, just call the guy in the principal office, have a talk with him, and then determine like, all right, did he change? Is he the same? Blah 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 blah. With the Wahlberg incident, he chimed in about the Black Lives Matter movement and sort of trying to show his support for everything going on, and everyone's like, yo, we got your resume right here. Like, we see what you've been doing in the past or whatever. You need to just sit this one out and just, like, keep your head low. Keep your head down. If someone can, I guess, pull up the exact specifics of shit he did, but he was on some, like, wild, like, leading mob type shit in high school, from what I remember correctly.
He's from Boston, right?
But, yeah, I mean, I've never been to Boston. I have no desire to go to Boston.
I got it.
Boston's a different spot. But for me personally, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so again, this is straight from the Wikipedia that has the sources, so don't nobody, try to discredit this. This really happened. There's two incidents. One in 1986 in June. He's 15 years old, got three friends, chased after three black children yelling, kill the N-word, and throwing rocks at them. And then the next day, Wahlberg and others followed a group of mostly black fourth graders, including one of the victims from the previous day, taking a field trip on a beach, and they yelled racial epithets at them and threw rocks at them, summoning other white males to join in the harassment. And then in August...
Wahlberg was how old at the time?
15. And then 15. In August,
okay.
That civil action was filed against Wahlberg for violating the civil rights of his victims, and the case was settled the next 3 months. Separately, there was an incident with South Vietnamese or Vietnamese folks as well. I'm looking at that was in April of 1988. So after the stuff with the black fourth graders in April of '88, while high on PCP, then 17-year-old Wahlberg assaulted a middle-aged Vietnamese man on the street and called him, quote, Vietnamese fucking shit, and knocked him unconscious with a large wooden stick.
But then when he paid the settlement, that was what? Like, what year was it that you said that happened?
So, 86 for the black kids.
But when he had to pay?
That was 86 as well.
So, when he was a 15-year-old, he had to pay a settlement?
No, there was at least that's what it's saying here.
I thought you were saying that the incident occurred at that time, and then
it was settled the next month from So it's September of '86. It was settled. That's what it's stating here. I don't know how it works in Boston or Massachusetts.
Okay.
But
yeah,
again,
because you can't. Well, I don't want to say what you can or can't do. It just I would have to read it for myself and look over it because essentially you can't. Are you? Is it implying that you're suing a 15-year-old for something that he said that was racist or whatever? I don't understand that. I don't know how the laws work. I have to read that specifically. The way I thought you put it was that someone retroactively went back and he did some fucked up civil rights shit, and in order to sort of keep that from coming out or whatever, he got paid off recently. So I'll go back and I'll read that.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg was a piece of shit when he was 15 years old. Between 15 and 18, he was a piece of shit. I get that. He is now, how old? 50?
He's got to be almost 50, if not 50. Hold on.
In his 50s and everything like that.
He's 49. He's 49 years old.
49. I'm not going to say, he gets a pass for what he did 35 years ago. Yeah, it was, we can say, it was fucked up and, you're a piece of shit when you were a kid. I'm not about trying to cancel him on that shit because I'm sure that since then, I would hope since then, he's done a lot of, I guess, growing up, both mentally, physically, obviously. And, he was Boston has a reputation, what are they called, Southeast in Boston, for being a highly racial town. Even though it is north, city. Even though it is up north, there are a lot of racial issues going on in Boston. Ironically, the Boston Red Sox put out a statement today, I don't know if you saw that, admitting to some of the racist behavior from their fans that has been reported through several other star athletes. Recently, Torrey Hunter, who's an all-star player for the he's hopped over from a lot of teams, but for the Twins, he put out something saying that he had in his contract a no-trade clause to Boston because he just did not want to deal with the racist fans there. And obviously with everything going on, the actual franchise of Boston came out and be like, we're sorry. We do have a history for having some really racist fans in the crowds, etc. I don't hold it against Wahlberg. If he has grown as a person, if he's putting on an act and he's hiding all this racist feelings for 35 years, give him an Oscar. But I'm not.
Can I just say this though, really quickly? I am someone who can look at someone's past and in general forgive. These are hate crimes, though. There's no doubt about it. What I am a little bit upset about is there should have been some level of holy fuck moment with your agent or the studios in the 90s, because he even had a, singing career and whatnot, or rapping career or whatever, as Marky Mark or whatever. There should have been some level of canceling very close to the early 90s and whatnot, early 90s with him. That would have been great, just in terms of, hey, you were 17 years old and looks like you tried to kill a Vietnamese person for no fucking reason other than them being Vietnamese. But I do agree with you. I'm hopeful that he's obviously at a 49-year-old years of age. He's grown up and this is completely different from who he is now. Old Ninja, you got anything on this one?
I think that kind of covers most of it. We talked about racism in Boston, and he's a 49-year-old man with a family. I guess on the side note, we got to remember, though, when he was a teenager, his brother was part of New Kids on the Block. So his brother was out touring and whatnot, and his brother didn't have a name yet. And there's talk that it was his older brother, Donnie, who saw what he was doing and brought him on tour, which gave him the inspiration to do something different, to change his life. Yeah, if that were the case, because I don't know, I didn't fact check this, I'm hearing only through, word of mouth, or it might be in his Wikipedia, but from what he did as a kid versus what I have seen him do in his professional life, what he's done with Entourage, which he's done as a producer, which he's done with what's that Ballers, which I was watching, like a bunch of other shows that he was, trying to either make amends, give back, or basically be a better person. After 30 something plus years, I would imagine there'd be some kind of fundamental change, at the very least.
I'm scanning over the Wikipedia, and there's some important notes that you did leave out, or maybe I was so wrapped up in trying to understand the civil aspect of it. But during the second incident, it stated that he was, I guess, high on PCP. 17-year-old went after Vietnamese, and Wahlberg was charged with attempted murder. He pled guilty to felony assault and was sentenced for 2 years in jail. He only served 45 days and everything.
He got a slap on the wrist. He got a slap on the fucking wrist.
That's put a slap on the wrist is probably more punishment than what he got for that and everything. And it goes in to mention that it is believed that the second victim was left permanently blind in one eye. And then it goes on to say that Wahlberg attempted to have applied for a pardon for the convictions. In 2006, and then has, I guess, talked with the guy and.
Hold on, I want to back you up really quick. The person that was blind in one eye, it was a rumor. If you read the next line, it says that person said that he lost his eye during the Vietnam War.
Right. There's some questions about, I guess, that.
But still, that is barely any kind of slap on the wrist for someone who, even being young, definitely should have known better because of the stuff that happened 2 years ago. So this is foul. I'm not saying 49-year-old Mark is the same as 17-year-old Mark, but Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck?
And you got to remember, when he did this was in the 80s. Totally different time, and we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Twitter, Facebook, and all that, so he's able to run amok and not get caught. Basically, what people do on PlayStation and Xbox, they do things knowing that they won't be consequences, so they can they can literally have their gamer tag or PSN be the N-word killer or N-word nuiser or whatever the hell they want.
But let's just make a distinction, though. Yes, it's wrong to use racial epithets. I get that, old ninja. But I'm putting that in a whole different category from...
Of course, of attempted murder. I get that. But my context is that he did things knowing that he can most likely get away with it. And that's what...
And also in 92, there was an incident where Wahlberg got in a fight with Wahlberg got in a fight with his neighbor and kicked him in the face. Pretty much whipped his ass. But it says that Wahlberg and Wahlberg's friend was black, was called a racial slur by this neighbor, and then whipped the neighbor's ass. So he's fucked up, I guess, Vietnamese people back in the day, or in the 80s, he was saying, kill the N-word. But then in 92, he's fucking up white dudes for saying black slurs. So he's got violent temper issues. He needs anger management.
He needs to talk to his mother.
How's your mother?
Yeah, there we go. You got it.
Damn.
All right, let's move on.
If you haven't seen it, that's it's the Saturday Night Live skit. It's on there.
Yeah. That's what he always says. All right, let's move on to some other bullshit. This has to do with CrossFit. Oh shit! I didn't think it was on my list. CrossFit got canceled, y'all. God damn. This is kind of funny because I'm actually not a fan of CrossFit, which I'll get into in a minute. It's probably going to anger some people, but I'll break it down for you. It's all good. I actually have really good friends that still do CrossFit. I mean, if that's how you get in shape, go ahead and do it, but just understand that I'll break it down in a minute. Anyway, the CEO of CrossFit, the guy who invented CrossFit, Greg Glassman, he got fucked up in a tweet again. Somebody else with a tweet. So apparently the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation tweeted out, racism and discrimination are critical public health issues that demand urgent response. hashtag Black Lives Matter. Read our director's response, read our director's statement at some URL. And then Greg Glassman responded to that, the CEO of CrossFit, and said it's Floyd-19, trying to say that it's COVID-19 and Floyd.
Jesus.
You know, it's just like really fucked up tweet. And then apparently he was on some call with some CrossFit folks, and he said some other fucked up shit. And he said, let me see if I can find it right here. I was called a racist yesterday for the first time in my life. Likely not. I'm just saying. First time anybody hinted at that, and it didn't hurt. It pissed me off. I had the same reaction I would have if somebody painted a pedophile on my door. I wanted to... Hold on. Where the fuck is... I'm finding the wrong fucking response here. Oh, here we go.
That's all right.
There was 10 CrossFit affiliate owners and executives on a call with Glassman that lasted nearly 2 hours. And Glassman said, we're not mourning for George Floyd. I don't think we or any of my staff are. Can you tell me why I should mourn for him? That's what he said on a fucking call. And then after that is what I just said. That he was mad that he got called racist. If you don't understand why you should maybe mourn him or just be concerned, like maybe you might be.
Right.
I'm just saying. Yeah, you fucked up. Now he had to step down for being the CEO of CrossFit. Reebok canceled their sponsorship. That's what led him to probably stand down. Is that cost his organization money, millions of dollars, because Reebok's sponsorship of CrossFit is like, that's the reason why you see CrossFit on ESPN, the CrossFit Games, is because of Reebok and Rogue Fitness and a bunch of other ones. I'm glad that Reebok was like, yo, what the fuck? You can't be saying shit like that. So I had a problem with CrossFit as a aging athlete from like early on. And this is like, so K-Mac used to do CrossFit, and I was like, I don't like CrossFit, but if you can get in shape with it, feel free. So I supported her doing CrossFit, but I generally don't like CrossFit, and I have really good friends of mine that still do CrossFit. My problem with CrossFit is that they're doing Olympic lifting with high reps for a certain amount of time, and that's not generally how you stay in shape and stay healthy. Like when you're doing lifts or Olympic lifts, it's meant to do like once or twice, maybe 3 times, usually once. Like you're not doing it for time multiple times in a row. Like, and you're definitely not competing against somebody else for how many times you can do it. I'll give you a perfect example. If I asked you to do 20 push-ups right now by yourself, you could do 20 push-ups, right? You do them perfectly correct. If you could do 20 push-ups, you would do them like the correct form. But if I told you, hey, I'm in a big competition, you and some other guy, who can do 20 push-ups the fastest? What are you gonna do? You're gonna cheat those fucking push-ups.
Fast and wrong.
Yeah. Your form's gonna go.
It's gonna go to shit immediately. So that's the reason. That's my main problem with CrossFit. And all you CrossFitters want to argue with me, I don't give a shit. I'll fucking choke you out. So go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I know we've talked about a little bit of cancel culture already on this podcast, but I'm doing a 180 on this one. I think this is a good one. This is not something where it's like 10, 11, 12 years ago.
Well, you doubled
when you
down.
were
Like,
22 years of age.
This is a few days ago.
Yeah.
This is right now. You know the climate that's going on. You're talking specifically insensitively about Floyd, who was murdered. And you literally don't give a shit, but you're the head of... Is this a publicly traded company?
I don't know what CrossFit is, but I mean, they're
Okay,
fucked
but
now.
Yeah, no matter what, it's still fucked up, but you're the head of this company that has name recognition all over the country, all over the fucking globe, really. You should know better. You know that you have to, at least, even if you feel this dumb shit, say the right things. And if you're going to put out on, it was a public tweet, right?
Yeah,
A tweet he responded to
tweets
publicly.
are public unless you're a private account, in which case you probably don't know how to use Twitter. Like if you listen, anybody that's out there, if you have a private Twitter account, you done fucked up. Stop it.
Yeah. So again, out there for everybody to see. you got called out of, you lost your fucking job, you lost your fucking sponsorship. It's hurting people who do train, and compete in those athletes win a decent amount of money, and they take this shit very seriously, and all of them are being hurt based on your bullshit.
Let me give point number 2 about my problem with CrossFit. All right, so CrossFit was created because the guy that created it, Greg Glassman, he wanted to have a way for people with chronic injuries to get in shape. Greg Glassman looks like he's not in shape. So the guy that created CrossFit has not been in shape since CrossFit was created, and he's not in shape today because he has chronic injuries, which I totally understand. I don't know exactly what he has, but you can't create something to fight chronic injuries. Meanwhile, you have chronic injuries and you're not in fucking shape. So the guy that created it definitely does not believe in what the fuck he even created. Like, the guy's not. He looks like a sloppy fuck. To be honest,
it looks like he's 63 years old. Nobody gets a pass. I think this canceling was awesome. I actually cheer this one.
Yeah.
I do have a question though about I don't want to go all the way back to the first topic, but what's your thought, Kronos, on the banning of the carotid or chokehold from police department?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that question. So for me, unless your life is immediately in danger, all right, I always give this. So if you're a police officer or any human being on the planet, if your life is immediately in danger, use whatever means you have to save your life. All right, definitely. Like, I think that should be a clause for anything. Like, if you really feel that way, and you can prove it, obviously save your own life. But a carotid artery choke is not a control position. It is a position to incapacitate somebody, and that's what it's for. And if somebody is already in handcuffs, if they're already physically restrained, using a carotid artery choke or any choke whatsoever on somebody that's already restrained is not needed. And it's coming from somebody that is pretty close to an expert on these things. So like I said before, I've been choked thousands of times. I've choked people thousands of times doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, yeah, if you have somebody in handcuffs, there should be no need to choke somebody. It's definitely not... it's not a go-to move as far as, like, trying to restrain somebody. You can restrain somebody without choking them. And if you don't understand that, then you need better training. What are your thoughts on it, man?
Well, before I give you my thoughts, so, and I think you articulated it very well. So when it comes to places or departments or just universally banning it, would you say you are pro that or against that?
I am pro it, but with a clause. All right, my clause was if you believe your life is immediately in danger. But it's the same thing with using a gun. If you believe your life is immediately in danger, or the person is endangering somebody else, then yeah, that's lethal force. A carotid artery choke, that's lethal force. And I think that most people don't really understand that. If you cut off the blood to somebody's brain for long enough, they will fucking die, 100%. And people are they're starting to understand that now, but it's definitely not something that you use to simply restrain somebody. You use it to turn the lights off. And then if you keep holding it on, you kill them. And I think people are not educated well enough to really understand that. It's not a restraint it's not to restrain, it's to kill. I mean, I haven't heard a convincing argument against that. If somebody wants to sit down with me and talk about it, I know we can. But yeah, it's to cut the lights off.
I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it because obviously it's a premier move in jiu-jitsu and everything. I've never used it before. I've been trained on how to use it and applying it. So when I do see that people are trying to like universally sort of ban it, I'm kind of like, you need to be able to know when you should use it, and you need to be able to know when to properly use it and everything. The times where I've been trained on it, just as importantly it is on how to apply it and everything is the sort of post application of the hold and everything. You need to make sure that you're calling for medical help because essentially you did. I like the way you put it. You turn the lights off. I mean, I almost think that's the way one of my instructors put it. You're turning the lights off. Their whole system is rebooting. So you need to immediately start applying medical care to the person because the body's not supposed to be just shut off completely and then started back up.
Yeah, totally.
And also, like you said, it's okay.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna pause real quick. Sorry. So this is the problem that I have with like poor police training, especially when it comes to like unarmed combat, is that I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time, and I know when I'm doing a rear naked choke, there are physical signs to when somebody is done when I'm doing it. If they don't have a chance to tap or they decided not to tap, which it happens, there are things that happen to human body that are easily communicated to me as somebody that is applying the chokehold that will tell me that I need to stop or I'm going to kill this person. And for me, it's when I'm choking somebody and their chest starts coming up and down, but it's in like a sucking motion and they're not getting oxygen in. And when their body goes limp. Those two signs to me tells me that the person is done, whether they know it or not. All right. And I think that a lot of police officers that are not used to grappling and actually applying these chokeholds, they don't understand these physical signs of when somebody's body is done. And those to me is from like my years of grappling experience. Those are the two that tell me that it's done. It's the sucking in and out with the chest when nothing is happening, and then their body goes limp. When the body goes limp, you fucking won. The sucking in and out, that's when you like let up. Because I've had people that did that before. Like when the sucking in and out when they're not getting oxygen, like that's usually when I know they're done. And when they go limp, they're definitely fucking done. And I think people they don't recognize it because it's from a lack of training.
The term that most commonly gets used for when you can apply it on certain departments is when a suspect is using aggressive resistance.
Yeah.
There. For example, passive resistance would be like if a person's asking you, "Sir, I need you to get out the car," and you're just sitting in the car and you're just holding on to the steering wheel. That's sort of passive resistance, or just being like, "No, I'm not putting my hands behind my back," or something like that. Aggressive resistance is essentially you're saying, "Okay, you're going to jail today." And you see the person going for a weapon. Let's say there's a shotgun cabinet across the room and the person's bigger than you or something like that. And you just be like, all right, I can get in this wrestling match with this dude, but there's a good chance that he's going to be able to use his brute strength to get to a weapon. So I need to just end this quickly, where using a carotid choke would come in handy. But like you said, that comes down to training on being able to recognize when you need to use it, how to properly apply it, and remove it. When a big part of it, and a big thing of jiu-jitsu, and you've talked about it before, is like when you're sparring with people, you have to have that control to know, be like, all right, we're grappling and everything like that. I give you the tap, all right, and everything. I'm not trying to be macho and keep squeezing when you're saying, all right, my arm hurts or my joint hurts or you got to move on. You have to be able to understand and be able to use that control, especially in a situation where your adrenaline is going. You might potentially be in the fight for your life where someone's trying to go for a gun or a weapon or anything like that. And you need to realize that, okay, oh shit, this person's unconscious and they're not getting any blood to their brain. They're not getting any air to their lungs. But you're still hopped off on adrenaline and you're squeezing as hard as you can, and potentially you're killing the dude. So I just wanted to sort of ask that from the jiu-jitsu experience that you have. And obviously I see a lot of people posting it's a thing going around with like the something 8 or whatever. It's like 8, Prodigy I think posted something of it, but it's like 8 different things that they want police departments completely abolished. And I'm like, some of these things I can get on board with just completely maybe getting rid of, but there are circumstances where using a carotid choke is more effective than an officer pulling out a firearm and just putting a 9mm to your face.
If they're properly trained, yes, I agree. But the thing is, for me, like when I think about restraining somebody, like an average person, I find that a Kimura, which is like the keyhole lock or whatever the fuck you want to call it in Japanese, a Kimura is way more controlling for most people and way safer, especially when it comes to like handcuffing somebody, because you're putting their arm behind their back and you're getting at least one arm in the position where you want it to go. That's way safer to do. And worst comes to worst, you destroy their shoulder, but they'll still live. But it's a better controlling position for me than a rear naked choke. A rear naked choke for me, like a carotid artery choke or whatever the fuck you want to call it, to me that's when you end things. That's like, it's like I said, you want to turn the lights off, and like if you don't know the signs, like I said before, you can easily kill somebody. But when you do like a joint lock, like you're attacking a joint, and you might be too weak to do it, but you shouldn't be. I mean, like the Kimura lock is not difficult to do, because it's 2-on-1. It's 2 arms on one of their arms to do this, and it puts you in a better position to handcuff somebody and actually subdue them. A choke does not subdue. I mean, it can subdue. It'll turn the lights off, but if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, then you can kill them. And so I think that it should be something that should be taught as like a last. A rear naked choke or a carotid artery choke should be taught in the same manner as shooting somebody. To me, especially if you're not familiar with the consequences or doing it multiple times in a row, you need to think about it as like, hey, if I'm gonna do this choke, it's basically like pulling out my gun and shooting somebody, because that's where it can lead to, and that's where it has led to for a lot of people. Same thing with the knee on the neck. I mean, you're cutting off blood flow to the brain. Like the easiest way for anybody to die.
The knee on the neck is not something taught. The knee on the neck is something not taught. That is just dehumanizing animal, kind of like when you're trying to lasso cattle and shit like that. That is not anything that is taught.
Yeah,
at all. A knee on the neck is not a thing.
Especially when they're being controlled. I mean, you know what's hilarious is in MMA. Like, it's legal to do the knee on the neck. You can watch videos of people that it's rare, but you can do it, and you pass out relatively quickly. But yeah, I mean, if you want to control somebody, you don't need to have the knee on the neck. I mean, just put the knee on the back or knee on the belly. I mean, knee on belly for like most people is like it's terrible. Like, I honestly, once we can all see each other again, Stitch, I mean, you should do a video, and I will go through some of these jiu-jitsu moves, and I'll show you what it's like to have knee on belly.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, like knee on belly on somebody, it's like fucking soul crushing. Like, seriously, like you just want to.
We would do knee on sternum is the way they and that's just like, ouch, this shit hurts, and you just feel your energy level's just like, ooh.
Yeah, it's gone. And I can, and to me, because I've been doing jiu-jitsu for so long, I can survive knee on belly for a long time from a black belt. You know, but that's me because I've been training. But if you're somebody that's never trained before and somebody's put a knee, like all their weight on one part of your body, holy fucking shit. Like, you go into fucking survival mode, like, right away. And if you're handcuffed and there's 2 other dudes holding you down, like, you're pretty much fucked no matter how big you are.
You guys got any input or thoughts or?
No, I mean, you guys covered it on that one.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've had knee in the stomach, and I thought I was gonna puke out my guts. It was all bad.
I've had guys fart before. It's hilarious. Even my instructor, I've done it too. Knee on belly, like, yes, any gas in your stomach, you're probably gonna fart.
Yeah,
I'll shit yourself.
It feels like everything inside you is being crushed and is gonna squirt out like all your orifices. It's not a good feeling.
No.
Yeah.
Do we have any Be There MBTI questions?
The other thing is not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do we have any?
Yeah,
it looks like
do.
Blue had a couple on. He's obviously not
we do,
show.
but we gotta wait for Blue to be on because he had some pretty good ones.
Well, and so did I think Stu had something too.
Stu had one?
Yeah. Hold I'll bring it up in a little bit. Go ahead and talk.
So,
Yeah.
go ahead. You about to say something?
Oh, okay. He's looking that up.
You sound like you had something you had off the cuff, or not?
Yeah, just really quickly. The thing that really pissed me off. I've talked about it a little bit on this cast. I'm kind of an economics nerd, and last Friday there was this report on the unemployment rate, and they were saying, "Oh, surprisingly, it's gone down to 13%."
Surprisingly, it's bullshit.
Literally the same day, they said, "Oh, there's a correction, and it's actually really 16%." Trump, of course, wanted to promote this as good news, like 13% unemployment is good news, which it fucking isn't, and said, "Oh, this would have been this is a good day for George Floyd because the employment rate was down," which was fucking disgusting. But lo and behold, again, the unemployment rate, the real unemployment rate, because there was some miscalculation stuff, is like somewhere in the 16+%. This is unfucking heard of, man. None of us have lived through anything close to this. And they literally also came out with statistics saying the recession started in February prior to the Rona lockdown. And so, yeah, it's a devastating global economy. I know this isn't an economics podcast at all, but holy fucking shit, man. Just hold on to your butts. This shit is not over from an employment or financial statement standpoint.
2020 is not done with us yet. So just be wary of that. We're just
at the halfway point.
Yeah, right. 2020 is not done with us yet. There's more to come. I'm expecting Godzilla at any minute right now.
Jesus.
Just coming.
You found the BBB?
No, I can't find it. I could have sworn Dirty Stu tweeted at us, but now I can't fucking find it.
I guess one more thing, really quickly. Who got to see the Bill and Ted Face the Music trailer?
Well, I saw it because I put it out on our page. Yeah.
That wasn't bad at all. I'm low key kind of like nostalgic excited.
I want to watch it.
I mean, I'm excited. I've been waiting for this. A lot of people have been waiting for this for like more than 2 decades, roughly, since Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, because a lot of people weren't happy with that one. This looks like this may fix all of that.
Dude, I was a kid when that sequel to Bill and Ted came out, and I fucking loved both of those movies, man.
Yeah, I know a lot of people didn't like Bogus Journey. They're just like, but I guess, they're coming back for this. It's going to be good. I know the daughters are in it, so it should be interesting. I'm excited.
I found Dirty Stu's tweet.
Yeah, man.
All right, there you go.
All right,
he asked a bunch of questions. He layered these. Jesus Christ. He said, I hope you and your families are safe and doing well in this fucked up time. Thank you. I hope you guys are doing okay too. I've got a feeling you've been asked this before, but here goes. What's your favorite film, album, drink, and non-alcoholic drink? Also,
that's a long list.
Also, what happened to Porn Star of the Week? He's mad.
Wait, I thought we were just doing of the year. Were we? Oh, I know what. Okay, yeah. We used to do it during the week. You right. I mean, we can bring it back. Bring it back.
That was like.
I feel like I need prep time.
It's weird to say old school for us because we've been around for fucking 5 years now. Mm-hmm. What's crazy? So our SoundCloud account. Because you gotta pay for them. All right. It renewed like yesterday or today. I think it was today, this morning. I was just like, I looked at my account. I was like, oh, I guess I got charged for some new shit. And I was like, holy shit, this is like when we first started using SoundCloud. Because we used to use a whole different like audio thing. I forget what it was called, but they just didn't work for us because they didn't save anything for that long of a time. I think it was called Clip. That's what it was. It's called Clip. And we couldn't use a bunch of RSS feeds. We couldn't get on iTunes. We couldn't distribute that well. Clip, I hope you're doing well. If you offer those services now, I mean, holler at us. But for right now, SoundCloud is the way for us to go, and we're distributed everywhere. But yeah, it's weird that we've been around for this long at this point. So yeah, 5 years of doing this podcast. Or a little bit longer than that now. Yeah.
Time flies.
So what
were the questions you were asking?
It was, what is your favorite film, album, drink. Oh, actually, we'll answer one of these. All right. So, what is your favorite film? I guess we'll start there.
Yeah.
My favorite film. I will give one that is first thing that came to mind when I heard this question. One of my favorite films of all time. Likely the best. Maybe not. I don't know. Fight Club. I fucking love Fight Club.
That's a great one.
It's one of my favorite movies of all fucking time. I can go watch the shit all fucking time. You know what's crazy about Fight Club is that I watched it and I loved it, and it took me 3 times watching it to like see all of the hints that they had to show that Tyler Durden was crazy right from the jump. And you don't notice it the first time you watch it through. It takes a couple playthroughs to watch it. Because there's like serious like clues right from the get-go that he's fucking crazy. What about y'all? Favorite film?
That's it. I'm gonna go Kill Bill. Kill Bill Volume 1 literally has anime in it. It has Lucy Liu at her sexy ass Asian powers. It has Vivica Uma doing her thing. It's a Quentin Tarantino one. It's so watchable. And then the scene from Okinawa is one of my favorite scenes of all time, where he says, "You say arigato, like we say arigato."
Yeah.
That shit is disgusting.
Yeah.
Mine's got to be 7.
Oh.
7 is probably
7's a good one.
so fucking good, and like I can just be flipping through the channels and watch it all the time. Just especially the ending, it's just like fuck. It's like you're watching like a great chess game.
What's in the box?
And you realize, it's just checkmate at that point. It's just like, and you got Kevin Spacey, Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, and everything. It's so fucking good. So I got to go with 7. It's got to be the uncensored version where they show.
That's you and Warrior Fella.
Oh, that one's fucked up.
So Warrior Fella, that's his favorite film too. Was 7.
Oh, you said
Nice.
Okay, I didn't have the chat up. Yeah, 7.
As you were talking, you said that. Yeah.
Great minds, baby.
Old Ninja, what you got on this one?
For me, because I'm such a movie file, it's hard to basically pick one. But the one film that's affected me the most, I still find something kind of different every time I watch it, is the original Star Wars.
Nice.
Original Star Wars literally redefined special effects for Hollywood from then all the way up until today. So, I mean, despite what Stitch may feel about it, it was one of the movies that, like, totally changed cinema forever.
Old Ninja, it also redefined Stitch's wardrobe, I'm just saying.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's a good joke.
That was so long ago. That was back when Mark Wahlberg was being a racist.
Damn. But yeah. For me, Star Wars. I mean, I would, if it was up to me, I'd include the original trilogy as one big film, but that's not fair. But the original Star Wars was the one. I've seen it like a dozen times over. I could watch it again and still be entertained. So
we got to get down on some Battlefront 2 because it was a free game.
Oh yeah.
I'm down.
Free game this month on PSN. In case you didn't know, it's both Modern Warfare, World War II, and Battlefront 2.
All right, so
Both good games.
we'll answer 2 of Stu's questions, but not any more than that.
Sure.
And then 1 in the chat. So, also, what is your favorite album?
Damn.
So when he asked this, I was thinking like, what should I say? So I'm gonna tell you the first thing that came to mind, even though it's like crazy depressing, and the reason why it popped into my mind is actually like crazy depressing too, but I'm not gonna talk about it in this podcast. But it's actually Radiohead, OK Computer.
Oh, okay.
That's the first thing that came to mind. Might not be my favorite of all time, but that's the first one that came to my mind.
I'm gonna go with Pac, and I'm gonna go with All Eyes on Me. When he came out of jail with that fucking fire and California Love, holy shit, the world fucking changed.
Yeah, I wrote that one down. I have a notepad right here. I was like, whatever. So since you said that, I'll go with I gotta go with I have 2 Kanye albums. Like 808s is when I was going through like a completely devastating heartbreak
I did
thing.
the same thing, but then I was
And
mad because it was all fucking. I hated that it was all the same fucking. Like the sound was all the same, but what he was saying, I felt.
Yes, I was literally going to Starbucks in like fucking Hoboken and just sitting on the fucking patio looking at the skyline of New York City, just fucking sad and miserable, like fucking emo idiot or whatever.
I was in Iraq. Like,
the music hit,
yeah.
but it fucking hit me good or whatever, and like I don't. I'll probably go back and maybe listen to that album just to see if it still has that effect on me or whatever. But it just spoke to me at that time. But my Dark Twisted Fantasy is probably my favorite Kanye album.
I think that to me that's like his last good album. After that, it was like kind of meh. To be honest,
that Power on there is still a banger.
Yeah,
I will listen to that every day.
Yeah, that hits hard.
Man.
Old Ninja, what you got?
I'm gonna throw y'all for a loop because this album I've listened to literally every track a bunch of times, and that is Portishead's Dummy, which is their debut album. Yeah, I've listened to that over and over again. Even their follow-up album, which is their self-titled album, that one to me is just as good. It's like a continuation of the first one, but Dummy. That's the one that that fucked me up because it was a genre of music that I wasn't prepared for. Like I had never heard anything like that, and it was really just amazing kind of shit out there. It was great, but it's probably my favorite album. Even though I have a lot of other ones that I can probably think of. I think LL Cool J's "Mama Said Knock You Out" was a great album as well.
Good shit. All right, the last one, Kronos.
This is from Warrior Fella in the chat. He said, favorite to read and favorite to watch during the economic lockdown. I'm not sure if he's talking about comics or books, but I will say, as far as reading goes, if it's comics right now, I've been catching up on Batman comics.
Nice.
It's been really good, but I'm like way behind. If it comes to books, I've been reading a shitload of books, or at least listening to a shitload of books. And A Weekend Online has still been like my favorite series. Followed very closely by The Land by Dr. Aileron Kong, which I talked about in like a rant. But he is, if you want to support a black writer, he brought the lit RPG genre to America. They're literary RPGs. Basically, you're reading a game story about how somebody gets stuck in a game and then they do their own thing. But yeah, definitely pick up Awaken Online or The Land or both. They're both really good series. And if you're talking about what was the other one that you talked about? To watch. Jesus Christ. I'm watching 13th right now. It's by Ava DuVernay.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't watch all of it yesterday, but it's basically confirming things that I kind of already knew about how America fucked us and broke down how they fucked us post-slavery. Why there's so many African Americans in prison right now because they basically wrote laws to put us in prison to put us back in slavery, and these are facts. If you don't believe me, just read the amendment, the 13th Amendment. Watch the show that the movie that I'm talking about. It's on Netflix, and I guess come to your own conclusions. But these are things that definitely, which are the detriment of African Americans. One of many things that were to the detriment of us, and that fucked us up as human beings post slavery. So if you have a chance. If you want to educate yourselves, if you're a person, if you're a Caucasian in America, you listen to this podcast or anywhere, watch 13th on Netflix, and maybe you'll understand a little bit of the plight of African Americans today because we're continually getting fucked over by the police, and it's by design, and it's to make money for people, and it's fucked up. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, love that. Stick, you go. What you got?
I've been sort of rewatching. I've been watching Django, or whatever. All that shit did pop off just because I was like, I just need to escape and go in a nice little fantasy world.
Where we kill all the white people. No. Not all of them.
I haven't got a chance to read too much. I do plan on buying some like children's books because I really want Storm to be bilingual in Spanish, and I figure I mean everyone tells me like the earlier the better, but because of quarantine.
Hold on, before you teach her Spanish, I would highly recommend showing her sign language when you talk to her.
Well, Leela has sort of jumped on that boat and everything because I don't know.
Learn.
I should learn. I'm not gonna say like I'm not gonna learn. I just feel like I can handle the Spanish aspect of it.
Yeah.
I know a little. I know a good bit of Spanish just from high school and college and everything like that, and I just feel like I can handle that aspect more of it than Lilo can. I don't know anything about sign language, so if Lilo wants to handle the sign language aspect, I'll help her out and I'll let her.
Let me give you the pitch. All right, this is why you should learn sign language with your daughter. All right, so they're gonna be able to sign to you way before they can fucking talk. So you can communicate with them on a base level before they're able to talk. So and you can just use like basic words like milk, yes, no, shit like that. They will understand that and like communicate that with you way before they can speak any fucking language. So just like you can start with just 10 fucking signs, just basic signs. That's all you gotta learn to start off with, and you can learn how to communicate with your daughter like really early on in her life. Definitely still do Spanish too, but it's still talking. Like talking is actually really fucking hard.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I'm in a rush to try to make her understand my shit now. I just figure like later on in life, I feel that like being able to be fluent in Spanish would be a massive advantage.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Well, I'm just saying, just add in the signing too, because if you speak English, Spanish, and then if you sign everything that you're saying to them on a basic level as you're speaking whatever language, they associate all those things together. And but they're gonna be able to sign first, no matter what, because it's way easier to do.
Sure.
So
you also. Oh no!
No, go.
I was gonna say also.
Oh shit!
Did he cut out?
I think he did.
We lose him? I think he dropped.
He did.
Okay.
He got politically assassinated.
Well, what?
Oh wait, hold on. He's back. There we go.
Wait, is he back? He's back, sort of.
There we go. Now he's back.
Okay, that was weird. I was starting today, and I don't even know where I got this like big epiphany from. I started to like YouTube Malcolm X's speeches because I don't remember really any of them. Like we all know like sort of famous like quotes and lines like "Oh, Plymouth Rock landed on us," etc., etc. But that's like shit from like the movie. I was like, let me go and actually see him speak and hear the actual raw words coming from his mouth. So I listened to one today. It was like an interview he did in like Berkeley. I forget the actual year he did it in. And god damn, he's just like unapologetically black as fuck. Like with some of the shit that he's like saying, I'm just like, I mean, there is substance to what he is saying.
I can't see.
Oh, we lose him again?
He totally dropped.
Oh, he dropped.
So yeah, what's funny is what he just said. So the quote that I said at the start of the podcast, like my actual intro, was his words.
I keep awesome. Getting booted.
Oh, all right, you're back.
What's going on? Yeah. My bad.
You're back.
But his shit is just unapologetically black, and it's pretty. I mean, obviously, it's very well thought out, articulate, and everything, but it's just not sugar coated at all. And it's just very interesting to see him do these interviews and hear his actual words come from his mouth and just listen to what it is that he's saying. Not saying that I agree with 100% what he's saying, but just to sort of just hear it from his point of view of things. It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Good shit. All right. I've mentioned this a billion fucking times, but I'm finally making some headway on fucking One Piece. I'm loving that fucking series. Yeah, man. I'm like a quarter a quarter of the way through that shit. I'm gonna be a fucking pirate king one day. And then in terms of reading, I've been really on this fucking kick of more science books. I told you I got the subscription to Nature, so that's coming. I'm reading a short history of nearly everything with Bill Bryson. I finished up Sapiens.
Sapiens was so good.
Yeah, more science.
Yeah, Sapiens
and
was like one of my favorite reads this year. It was such a good book.
Good shit.
Yeah.
I'm glad you followed up on that. Oh, really quickly too, if you do like 13th, one of the people who's interviewed on there very prominently wrote the New Jim Crow, which is another excellent book.
That's
Michelle Alexander, I think is her name. There's a deeper dive on a lot of those facts and statistics in that book. So definitely check out that.
Yeah,
I'll pass it off to you.
I think that's next on my list to like read or listen to anyway. Once I'm done with my latest book, but yeah, it's definitely up there to read, and it's just like getting K-Mac into all this, and to her, it's like I feel bad. I feel a weird emotion having her, like, bringing her and like showing her all this stuff, because it hits her hard. You know what I mean? It's just like I think that's how it hits most Americans that haven't realized, and this comes to any ethnicity that didn't realize like what people are going through, because we have people like, you know, I'll call her up by name, like Candace Owens, or even the Hodge twins, or, you know, some other folks, and even like to a certain aspect me, you know, it's like I live a pretty good life. You can call it privilege, but it's privilege that I earned. It's not really even a privilege. Like I earned everything that I got. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of folks out there they don't see, because of where they live, or, you know, because they just ignore stuff that they don't really recognize, like what the fuck is really going on right now. And it's really eye-opening to see it like laid bare out there. It's like, yeah, I haven't hit the same amount of racism as somebody that lives in, like, you know, Compton or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I've very rarely been pulled over for no reason. You know, it's happened like once. I've actually gotten out of way more tickets than I've actually gotten tickets, to be honest with you. But, you know, for a lot of people, that's like a serious problem. And even still to this day, like when I'm getting pulled over, it's like, is this guy gonna be a decent dude, or is he gonna be like an asshole? Like how am I supposed to act to this police officer?
Yeah.
You know, that's concern for like a lot of people here in America. And I think that recognizing at least that small step is the right way to go. Just recognize it, you know. Let you guys go.
Yeah,
how do you feel about you going back and going through some of this stuff? Because we've sort of talked about like how we kind of don't feel like really watching like 12 Years a Slave, like movies of that, because we kind of know it. We know the painful history.
Oh, wait, hold on. None of you have seen that film?
Well, I know, just using that as like an example.
Okay, because I was gonna say I differ from you guys. I differ from you guys a little bit on if that's your point. I actually enjoyed that movie quite a bit, and I want more history movies, even if they're slave movies. I actually do like the whole gamut of those types of movies, even Holocaust movies.
Oh, let me just. I like watching them as well. I enjoy that they exist, and I enjoy that it's like shedding a light on certain things. Like I'm not going to shy away from a movie, but I think that for me anyway, it's kind of embarrassing that, you know, I ignored stuff in my personal life that I went through at possibly the cost of others. And that's what I realized after the last. So I'm gonna be totally honest with you. After the last podcast that we did, I was editing the podcast and I started crying, like as I'm editing the podcast and putting it out there. So I'm realizing that there's like all this shit that I've went through in my life, that where it's like I've got like super thick armor, like I got super thick skin, like shit just rolls off me. But it's like, listen, something that can roll off me can like destroy somebody's whole fucking month. You know what I mean? Like the next person the person that might say something to me that I'm just like, fuck you, but I don't say it out loud. And then the next person they go to that looks like me, they say the same thing, and it's just like they can fuck up them, like, their whole life. It's just like recognizing that I can't let shit like that slide anymore was like kind of an epiphany. It's like I need to protect people, that look like me from shit from abuse like that, because you might have you have to go through that. Somebody might have to go through that way more than me, and I have resources at my disposal that people don't have. And even though for me it's by design, but obviously you might not have the same sort of upbringing or opportunities that I had, and that's not on me. It's not on you. It's just that's the way fucking life is. Certain people have certain things, other people don't. But I'm realizing now that I might have been part of the problem when it comes to that, and that as of last week, that stopped. I'm just not putting up that shit anymore.
Well, then maybe it's just me that where it's like I a lot of times when I go to the movies, I just want to be like entertained, and I don't want to leave the movies in a sadder place than when I entered the movies.
Yeah.
Not to say that I'm trying to like completely keep my head in the sand about some shit that happened in the past. Like I'm aware of historical events, and I'm not gonna be like I know them all, but I don't want to pay $14 to go to a movie that I kind of know what the story is about and everything, and then leave in a pissed off mood. So I never really had the desire to go watch like The Help and everything. And I know that they are good movies and really, really well put out, but it's just like I don't have the desire to see that because it's going to hit me in a certain way. Now I've in the past I've watched movies like Mississippi Burning and Time to Kill and stuff like that, and not to be like I completely ignored movies of that nature, but it just, for me, it's like, all right, I got to sort of put on an additional level of armor if I'm going to watch these movies with Lilo, because I'm going to go back in my feels.
How mad do you want to get?
Yeah, exactly. I think the last movie I watched that where I left the movie like really mad or pissed off was Fruitvale Station and everything.
Yeah.
And I was just shit. I don't want to put myself through that and everything. And I think I watched Fruitvale Station the same day I watched one of the X-Men movies, if I remember correctly. It was just one of them. And I was just like, dude, I think I can't remember which one I watched first, but it ruined my entire day.
Well, this is what it's kind of what I was alluding to, is just like, part of that is part of the problem. Is like, we have people, I mean, like, me and Stitch, we're significant others are Caucasians, and it's just like, they don't know at all. And so when we avoid these things because we don't want to be upset and we don't want to upset our significant others, it's like, that contributes to ignorance for them. Like, obviously we know, but they don't fucking know. So that's what I'm seeing now. It's just like, maybe like what I was doing in the past was like not the right. Actually, I know. I gotta be honest. It was not the right path for me to go. I should have brought up these issues earlier in my relationship, and like have her, especially now that me and K-Mac have an African American baby. Like, she's like now saddled with these issues that she didn't really understand before adoption. Because, when we were doing adoption, we were just like, yeah, and this is, should I even say this?
You've been drinking. Say it.
Well,
we can rephrase.
Yeah, I'm just trying to put it a better way. So, when we're talking about adoption, all right, she really wanted to adopt, and it got to a point where it's like, I mean, I wanted to adopt too, but she was super into it. She was looking at all the positive aspects for adoption. And, we're open to adopt any kid. And to me, I was like, hey, let's get an Asian kid with red hair. Super rare. It's like, that'd be cool, right? Like, I don't care, like, who we got. Like, literally, that's how much I didn't care, like, what kind of kid we got. And it got to the point where, like, we had a conversation talking about, like, adoption. I was like, well, K-Mac, like, what if we adopted a kid and the kid like rejected you, like how would you feel? You know what I mean? And that was like, when I said that, like the reaction that I got was like, it was really bad. I mean, she started crying because she never even thought about it, and it was almost the same reaction to where it was very close to the reaction where she's realizing now that raising an African American child in America right now is potentially highly detrimental to them, you know. And now that you realize that, you know, we have to go through like the talk and all this stuff. I don't think it was something that she didn't really think about that much before because she wasn't educated about it, you know. And that part of that is on my part. But it's just like, if you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So, yeah, if you can educate, even if it's uncomfortable, you know, we've done all these, you know, recent podcasts about uncomfortable conversations, and they've been received very well. So anybody that's out there, if you have a significant other that is not of your same ethnic background, you should have conversations about what it was like to grow up, even if you were both minorities. Like, you could have vastly different, you know, backgrounds growing up, and you don't know what it was like for them to grow up. So just explain it, and you'd be surprised on what you can learn from each other. That's what I've learned anyway.
That's awesome. I mean, here's the other thing too. Even for black folks, there's plenty of stuff you can still learn. I wasn't fully aware, because it was a little bit before my time, about the Central Park Five. I kind of heard of them, but I didn't know the whole story. This is another shout out to Ava DuVernay. I mean, that I put it on the list last year for one of our nominees, but When They See Us was outstanding, talking about some of these same issues. And that one, it was like basically a mini-series on Netflix or whatever. I became more aware of things going on in New York City at that time.
And Donald Trump basically just telling them, fuck them, let's just kill them all.
Not only just saying fuck them, I mean, he put out full-page front New York Post ads to try to get everybody else in the city to be like, fuck them. And still, after being exonerated, was like, nah, they black and brown, they guilty.
Yeah, this is Donald Trump's racism. Like, when people say, you know, Donald Trump's a racist, and they're like, no, he's not. Look what he's done for the African American community. But go look at that. You know what I mean?
There's other stuff. He literally got sued a whole bunch of times for housing discrimination of saying, you black, you can't live here. But, I'm sorry, you didn't even get a chance to say some of the stuff you like.
I know, but these tangents were actually really good, so I'm like sitting here listening. But yeah, I don't even remember. It was what the book? Oh, reading. So I'm not really reading a whole lot right now. I'm finishing up Immortal Hulk. I only have the first trade.
Oh,
I'm trying to get the rest.
It's a good one.
And I've been trying to get my hands on the Star Wars book, the Alphabet Squad, because that's been out for a while, but for some reason people are sold out and I can't like order it for some odd reason, but whatever. And then I'm catching up on older shows. I'm watching Bones and Sleepy Hollow because they had a crossover, which was weird. So that was weird. And then I'm actually waiting for two big shows. I'm waiting for Umbrella Academy Season 2 to drop, which is next month. The Boys Season 2 is supposed to be next month. Yeah. And then I'm waiting. Yeah, it's supposed to be in July, like late July. Oh, and then in August, I talked to the Oathbreaker about this. Is Lovecraft Country. I'm waiting for that. That's gonna be probably that new hotness. But those are the ones that I'm waiting for. But the shows I'm watching now are Bones and Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow to me is very interesting because even though it was on Fox for a while, it's a primetime show, but it's something you didn't really see where almost the entire principal cast is black, and the show is fantasy, horror, and a little bit of sci-fi. And the two of the big leads, they're both African American women, which is weird. Cool. You don't see very often. So, like, the three main leads was Orlando Jones was on the show. It was him, Nicole Behar, and I don't remember the other girl who plays his sister. But those are the big three leads. Yeah, she is lighter than Nicole, but they play sisters. which is fine, whatever. But the three of them, they led the show. That's three African American leads on that show, and it had to deal with one of my favorite stories is the Sleepy Hollow story. I mean, yes, there's Ichabod Crane who's white, but the rest of the cast is mostly black. So that's an interesting.
I like that one.
It is good. I never got a chance to finish it, so I went back, and then going back now, they actually introduce a deity from like Egyptian mythology who's black. Like he plays if you watch Spartacus, he plays like the I forget his title. He's basically the guy that trains everyone in the slave pit to fight. He trains the gladiators, and he's actually so far he's pretty good on Sleepy Hollow. So it's actually a really interesting show. It's on Hulu, so you can check it out there. There you go.
Should we wrap it on up? I know we can't do another 4-hour one.
No, we can't. Plus, I gotta update my Call of Duty.
Yes.
Let's wrap it. Real quick, rapid fire. Stitch, what you got? Anything popping this week?
I'm just gonna sort of just chill. I plan on watching the Boondocks. I couldn't find them on Netflix because I don't know where they fucking shuffled them over to. But
try HBO Go or HBO Max. It might be on there.
Well, I got the DVDs, so I just pulled those bitches out, and I'm gonna start. I'm gonna watch those.
What the fuck is a DVD?
Also, well, I think I'm pretty because they're on Blu-rays and everything. Also, I'm gonna rewatch The Wire. The Wire fucking covers everything. It holds up so well. It's still covering shit going on right fucking now.
So does Oz.
So good. Yeah, but Oz does. But in terms of like everything going on in like the streets and all this stuff with police brutality and the government and political shit, The Wire's still covered on that shit. Also, for those that are interested in hearing something, NFL player, a former NFL player, Emmanuel Achu, has been doing this podcast called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Person, and where he sort of puts like a 10-minute YouTube video. He's a very well-spoken linebacker.
Yeah, he cut out.
Can you hear me?
He'll come back.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay. A linebacker from Texas, really well-spoken. Does these 2 10-minute episodes on like just common questions that you would maybe ask a black person if you didn't have a black person friend in your life. The second episode that he just did dropped with Matthew McConaughey, and it's really, really interesting. The term that McConaughey put out, it was called like white allergy, which is something, it's sort of like a preconceived notion that white people have about maybe black persons or minorities. Wow. And I heard that term and I was like, wow, that's a pretty new but maybe accurate term for stuff that you have maybe in the back of your mind. Like an example is like when you read like a job application and you're hiring somebody and you see like a ethnic name.
Like Deshaun or Jaquan.
Yeah, and you think like, I don't know if I can have a Deshaun around here. And the way he put it is like, your white allergy kicks in and stuff, where you don't think that you are racist, but it just in the back of your mind. So it's something very interesting that maybe someone might want to check out.
You got to bump those numbers up. Those are minor league numbers. You got to bump them up. Sorry, I love McConaughey. He's great. Old Ninja, what you got?
So I just started watching yesterday Black Jesus, and this show is just out of control. It's funny because it's executive produced by Aaron McCruder, who created the Boondocks. So the show is just out of control. It's kind of sad seeing Charlie Murphy and John Witherspoon. They're both on the show, but they both passed away. R.I.P. to them. But the show is just crazy. It's pretty funny, but some people might find it offensive. But so far, I'm liking the show. It's actually pretty damn funny. Like I said, I'm watching Bones and Sleepy Hollow. Modern Warfare is updating tonight, literally like 10 minutes ago. So I'm going to update the game and see what this Season 4 is all about. I'm going to try to get on some Star Wars with Prodigy. Happy birthday again, even though you're a POS. Other than that, just doing some gaming. That's kind of. Oh, another thing. So I guess Disney was going to release this film to theaters this week. Instead, it's going straight to Disney Plus. No Blu-ray, no DVD. It'll be on Disney Plus on Friday. It is based on a series of books. It's called Artemis Fowl. It's I guess it was supposed to be a um, a series launcher, but I don't think Disney's too keen on it now. But it will be on Disney Plus Friday night, full length movie. It was supposed to be in theaters. It'll be launching Disney Plus Friday. I plan on watching that and checking that out. Also, Blue's not here. I know he wanted to talk about Stargirl. I'm gonna try to do a mini review with him probably next week or whatnot. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening on that show. That's it.
Good shit. Kronos, what you got?
Yeah, so I think I'm actually gonna do some random talks with people. I'm probably gonna put on Facebook because this is what's been insane to me. I've had so many. I'm gonna do a rant about this because I've obviously put out a bunch of short podcasts and videos about like my rants. I'm gonna put one out about internal racism pretty soon. I just gotta put my thoughts together about it. But hopefully it should be a good one. But I've had so many people reach out to me privately, ask me questions that they were afraid that they were going to be called racist about, and I was just like, but you're just asking questions. Like you need to be able to. I feel like there's like a fear climate for people where they want to understand more, but they're afraid to be publicly ostracized, which we talked about earlier. You know, because we get ostracized for doing certain things. But it's like, listen, if you're just asking a question, you want an honest answer, like that shouldn't be. You should feel free to ask the question. So I think I might just pick somebody randomly or put it on Facebook. Hey, if you want to have a conversation about something you're uncomfortable with saying, usually publicly, let's do a podcast about it. We'll break it down. We'll record it. And if you're still uncomfortable about releasing it, then we'll not release it. But if you're comfortable after the fact releasing it, then we'll release it. Release the whole conversation because I want people to like really understand, like that these should be open communication lines for people. Like I think that what I'm realizing now after what's happened in the past like 2 weeks is that one of the best ways to get people to understand racism and how people really feel is to talk about it. And a lot of folks, they're either afraid to talk about it or they're too angry to talk about it. And I'm not too angry to talk about it. All right, I will talk about it with you. You know, if you ask me honest questions, I'll give you an honest answer, and we can move forward from there. And if you want to feel however you want to feel afterwards, that's fine. You know, but I will take your question as like from a neutral stance, and I'll answer it the best I can. And if anybody's willing to do that with me, you can ask me anything. Seriously, anything you want to know about, whatever, and I'll give you my straight up honest answer.
Should we just make them like ask B's and BTIs, and maybe you do an initial, or we should answer it as a podcast or something, or on a Wednesday night?
Well, I think
or you want to do one-on-one with folks?
I want to do one-on-one to start from people that I know, at least people that know me personally. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like, I feel like if we open up to like the world, we might get trolls. You know, maybe not. I mean, if you want to do it like that, then ask a question. Like you can tweet or DM us a question, and we'll answer on the podcast. If you DM us at like on Twitter or at
Facebook
or on Facebook or bethenbti@gmail.com. Ask us anything that you want. Honestly, don't ask us some bullshit question that you're not really interested in. Like ask us an honest question, and we'll answer it on the podcast, all of us. But on my personal Facebook page, which I'm not gonna put out there, people that know me, I'll put it out there. Hey, if you want to ask a question, I'll answer. We can have a conversation, make a quick little podcast. If we're not comfortable, we'll drop it. It'll never be seen. But if you are comfortable, we'll put it out there so people can understand. I want people to be comfortable with asking these uncomfortable questions. I need things to be. I need people to be comfortable with uncomfortable shit. So
there you go.
Put that out there.
Good shit. for me, really quickly, got birthday today. Birthday love and all that stuff.
Why you got so many gray hairs, bro?
I know, man. I'm fucking old. I'm ancient. I'm off the rest of this week, so definitely plan on doing a little bit more Battlefront with Old Ninja, maybe some Call of Duty for certain. Finishing up, I'm really on a comic kick. I've absolutely loved everything going on with X-Men and Hulk and Fantastic Four. So getting back into some Marvel shit, which is really, really fun. And I will also say, for me at this time, I'm really proud of this show. I really am. I feel like we've kind of come a long way. I like the fact that we've responded to some of the things that have been going on socially. I like the good mix stuff. I know that we're going to go heavy on some PS5 next week, but sometimes you have to take a break and actually address things in the real world. Oh, and here's the other thing too. I might just fucking watch some goddamn NASCAR now. You know what I mean? I had no idea there was even any like a black NASCAR driver or whatever. Not that it has to be a black NASCAR driver for me to start liking it. But when you talk about banning this Confederate flag in your goddamn stadiums, I might be down to watch some.
Wait, what? You didn't watch that? You didn't watch the MTV special about NASCAR where they interviewed the first NASCAR driver or the first black NASCAR driver, and they asked him about has he experienced racism, and he said no one said it to his face. But then they interview like the crowd, and they were just like they were drunk, and they were saying some crazy shit on MTV. It's an old fucking.
I feel like there was a Richard
VH1, but.
I feel like there was a Richard Pryor movie about him.
Maybe.
That I haven't seen, but I've seen a preview for. But in any event, I'm literally going to watch some goddamn NASCAR this year. All right.
Right on.
Take us on out, Old Ninja, with the credits and shit.
Boy. All right. So you can check us out online if you want to watch the Dankest podcast on the internet. We are Black and Black Times Infinity. Check us out with Than BTI. That's BTHANBTI on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We're Black and Black Times Infinity on SoundCloud, Radio Republic, Spotify. Check us out on Amazon. We have an app on there, and then our official website, binheadproductions.com/BTI, and then we're also on Twitch. Be on the lookout for some gaming video real soon.
Watch more Harley Quinn.